Up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Abzi for the Best Gaming Podcast number 461. We're going to talk about PCs finally getting trophies. Probably the most important update in the history of PCs ever in PC games. Most likely will be a turning point for mankind, the betterment of mankind, the improvement of pretty much everything. I think the moment PC trophies become available, we as a species will turn around. It's really giving me hope.
And every game will be built around platinuming it. Yeah. It'll be awesome. It'll be amazing.
I was looking at some platinum lists this morning to talk about this, and it was like, you threw 8 people off a cliff. And I was like, well, Jay Reaper when Dragon's Dogma would have got that one. But I don't know if I want every game to have that as a, as an achievement. And then we're going to talk about gaming getting dirtier. People are probably going to think this is negative. Well, I sort of worded it that way, a little bit negative, but we're going to talk about the different ways games are being delivered now with digital, with early access, early access, which was sort of talked about this morning in our Discord, and the idea that more along the lines of murkier, but I tried to use murkier and wrote it, and I knew people would be like, that's spelled wrong, even though technically it's
saw the I saw the Hades thing, and I was like, wow, this is insane.
It can skew negative or positive depending on the group you're in and their experiences, obviously.
It's just a thing.
Somebody new is going to look at that and might not think anything about it, but somebody who back in the day is like, everything needs to be like Shivering Isles is probably going to be pretty upset by it. Yeah. We're also going to talk about gamers getting less, or what we think of as less because there's no physical property around it with DLC. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is something that backs up the discussion we had about sometimes there being a difference between the actor, actress, their physical look on a game, and something that CD Projekt Red just discussed in a recent interview that backs up that mistakes can happen. And I thought it was really interesting. It happened to pop up in my chat this morning, and I went and looked, and there's a perfect quote for what can happen to why something can go wrong or look different, and our reactions to it versus maybe an artist just saying meh. I don't know if they stop and say meh, but yeah, I mean, I've noticed it. You and I talked about it. Like, some people are less impacted by it. Others, I notice it because, let's say I follow an actor or something, which is going to be what this one's going to be about, where you see it and you go, oh, why is that different when this other one's different? And this explains the technical elements behind it, to the point to where I know that a lot of people think it's on purpose, and it can be at times, but that's not what this one's about. This one is actually pretty good information. And then I want to talk a little bit about AI and robots. That'll be at the end. I'm going to cover Dead Island 2, Sola, the DLC. I played that, beat it. I was going to do a review, but I figured, you know what? Those things are so hard to review because you're going over the same stuff for a DLC, and to even get 8 minutes, 10 minutes out of it, unless I just wanted to bloviate for 31 minutes, I'm not going to do it. So we're going to talk about that. Bloviate, which is a good word. It's almost onomatopoeia. When you say it, you're like, yeah, I'm going to bloviate. I want to say thanks to everybody who showed up for the podcast. We appreciate it. And lastly, I did figure out, or was informed tons of times, that the podcast was not updating across almost any other update service other than iTunes and Spotify recently. And I went back and found out that, yes, you are right. I've fixed it once. iHeartRadio was wrong. Google Cast, I think, is gone now. Could be wrong. Castbox, there's about 5 or 6. Podbean are all messed up and all went back to the old podcast that we were trying out. We were trying out a different host. They all reverted back, deleted podcast episodes. So in the last couple of days, I tried to fix that. Hopefully it is actually fixed. I appreciate it. And then lastly, thanks to everybody who sits down, takes your time out of your day. Appreciate anybody joining the Patreon, the Discord. And if you don't want to, I appreciate just being here. Let's go. So let's talk about the Cyberpunk thing, because I want to talk about this thing. Then we'll talk about let's do what we've been playing, because that might lead into some of this discussion. Then we'll jump into the face rigging thing. So what have you been playing this week?
Sure. Other than Tarkov and Horizon that I already mentioned.
A bunch of Tarkov. Yeah, I've seen you on Tarkov a lot.
That's very addicting. It's very, very addicting. Mm-hmm. Other than that, though, I got into Age of Wonders again, because since I think I played it for only around like 20-30 hours on release, and then shortly after it came out, other games came out, so it kind of took me away from the game. But I loved the game. I already called it my favorite 4X, and it truly is my favorite 4X of all time, truly. And so I just got back into it because a bunch of DLC got added that I haven't touched, I haven't played. So I just like closed my eyes, bought all the DLC, launched the game, and it feels a lot richer. There's more races and more lore, and that's really, really cool. I'm actually delving deep and reading stuff and watching the intro to every character I make, and it's almost like their lore is, there's a lot of constants and there's a lot of variables, and they procedurally generate or have like a pool of different things because I make a hero and then they give that hero a story, a place in the world, in the lore, which yeah, it's very, very interesting to see. So I've been super into that. What about you?
Well, real quick, when it comes to Age of Empire or Age of Wonder, do you find yourself playing with special races and empires, or do you do your own special race and empire, and then do you do the generics that the game comes with? So are you making up 4 fantastically unique empires to go against, or are you doing your own custom empire and then just saying, I'll let the game fill out the rest?
I do both. Sometimes I treat it like I like to do things in games. I like to do both things where I kind of create my own thing and just go in with that. But also I like having the game giving me something and just playing around it. You know what I mean? And you never know what could happen because you can end up transforming them and doing a lot of crazy shit to the races that they provide. For now, getting back into it, I chose one of the scenario maps, like with a campaign, and there's a bunch of heroes to choose from. Even in the campaign, there's just a ton of heroes. And I chose human paladins, which I made angelic now, and they have wings and shit. And usually I don't go for things like paladins and stuff. I created a bunch after release, like I made fire dwarves and bronze orcs and random stuff like that. But now getting back into it, I'm just very excited to see all these new expansion races and what I can create with that, different combinations and stuff. Very excited to delve into that and like more and bigger campaigns and make my own map as well. I like doing that too.
I've been purposely going in and making 4 or 5, or maybe sometimes 3, make a gigantic terrain and then make 3 races so that it takes them a while to get together. You can do a little bit of that upgrading before you're getting just absolutely smashed. This last time I played, I turned up all the kingdoms. I took the traits. You can do 3 traits, I think, or 4 traits per map. And I chose all the ones that made the side kingdoms strong. So they're like mega side kingdoms, ultimately powerful side kingdoms. But then I only put 3 races in there. So all the side kingdoms are these, like almost like watching Last Kingdom on Netflix or Vikings or what have you, where the main guys have to try to talk all these other guys who are pretty powerful in their own right to follow them or do their own, or to go with them. And then I created the most random characters ever. I was like, the Goatmen I chose, the Lizardmen, yeah. I chose all the new, the militaristic steampunk guys, I chose them. And by the time I got this thing, dude, it's weird because it made sense in my mind. I started telling myself a mental story of like, all right, so I'm the nature group and I'm fighting against this industrial group over here and this magic group, and we're trying to all work out our shit. And I have a lot of stuff on where it's okay to win not militarily. Like,
yeah, of course.
There's, because that feels good. But every time you switch a mount in that game when you're making a race, it changes all the stats, and every game needs to do it. When you switch a stat to like the spiders and they have the web stuff, you switch to horses, they can gallop farther, you switch to the crocodiles and they can bite people, and you're just like, dude, it's so good, man. If you like fantasy. If you don't like fantasy, it's not going to sell you.
And there's a bunch of combinations other than, your research tree and where that's going and the stuff, the traits that also change characters. You can have permanent changes. You can have enchantments that also change the look of the characters with the mounts, with the, weapons and other stuff. There's a lot of customizability. If you like customizability, there's just so much to it, and it's not just armor pieces or whatever. Like the weapons you get even as a hero, they change your play style. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it's great, man. I don't know if Stellaris has so much DLC that it can be bogged down by the thing about Stellaris is every single side is like a WoW game where they're all buttons, just like 12, 12, 12. That can get a lot. And there's times where I like Age of Wonders because it's still got a ton of complexity, but it dives into, I don't know if you remember this, but the difference between like a lot of these type of games and particular Age of Wonders is it's all nested menus. So if you go in and it says this guy has militant and biting rhino fucking mount, if you hit, I think on a controller, it's holding the double Windows button, it'll open up and go into that in the same menu. So your what you had read is still there, but then a new menu pops up and you can do nested menus. And there's something about not losing the old thing, because you might want to go back and then look at something else that still pertains to that last menu where you were in, instead of having everything go away or it brings it up somewhere else. It's just, now it can look a little like, have you ever had a Windows crash where something goes pop, 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 and,
and then it just keeps going.
There are times where you're like,
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
You know what I love though?
So sweet.
What I love about it, for example, in Stellaris, it's very complex and deep, but it also looks very complex and it's not that easy to just boot up and play. But with Age of Wonders, what they fucking nailed, and I don't think a lot nail it that well. Not even, the game we like a lot on Game Pass, I forgot Crusader Kings 3 and stuff. It's very deep, very complex. There's a lot of stuff going on, and maybe hearing us, people would be discouraged to pick it up and play because it just sounds so daunting, right? But they walk you through it, even in game. After you've done the tutorial, you just see, okay, this is what I got to do. They put it there for you. It's very clear. The UI is very clear. There's no spreadsheets on spreadsheets. You can make it that way with the nested stuff, but it's still very clear and easy to follow. And I really, really like that about the game. It was so easy to get into it. And after
when I was playing Stellaris recently, it's like the ability to parse Stellaris, and especially its multiple icons and stuff, is very tried and true when it comes to space games. Like, let's show you the 55 chits that mean gold and rice and money and fucking karma and whatever. There's all these weird things. And when you go into Age of Wonders, it's pretty... I mean, there's a couple things up on the top left where I was looking at them yesterday going, that's a little messy. But overall, there were 4 versus just... And I love Stellaris, but I can admit... Or you look at Crusader Kings, which is damn nigh impenetrable. In that game, you look at it and you're all, nothing's happening, and I've clicked 50 buttons. What is going on? Like, how is this game playing? Yeah. Or am I paused? So, Jay Reaper, $5 super chat. I like games. Thanks, Jay, for the super basic, incredibly true comment, because you do like games. I've been in Discord with you and seen you play 12 in like a 10-minute period.
Games. You like every
him and
Solar,
Solar Sphincter is his username, so I'm just going to say, but Solar Sphincter, man, him, and they'll get into chat, and it's like, somebody will say a game, I want to play that. Boom. 15 minutes later, somebody will say a game, I want to play that. It's just, and I'm still playing the same. I'm still playing KOTOR #1.
These are the people you can't start a Divinity playthrough with. You know what I mean?
Or like a Baldur's Gate playthrough. Yeah. Admittedly, they both stuck with Dragon's Dogma to the point of being pure insanity.
Well, that's hard to. But, it's a very sticky game. Yeah,
they stuck with that one for sure. But yeah, appreciate it, Jay. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate you as always bringing the fun into the voice Discord, man. I always know where it's going, but I'm always surprised when it goes there. I'm always like, it won't go there today, and it gets there somehow. He always brings it back to the absolute guttural, most caveman-like discussion, and I appreciate that. Moving on from there and what we played, I played Sola. We'll talk about that in a little bit, and then I've been playing a couple games for review coming up. You can guess what those are. So let's talk about this discussion. So Star Wars main character, people were wondering what exactly was going on with the face rig on that, and it looked a little off compared to the actress. This came up with Control, but it didn't come up in many ways with people like Idris Elba in Cyberpunk. And it's come up, I would say Keanu Reeves is pretty close to Keanu Reeves. You see it a certain way. But randomly today, I read an article by Riley McLeod from Aftermath, and this is a great article. It's called How Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty Reshaped CD Projekt Red. But there's a certain part in here talking about mocap and speaking with Idris Elba, and it says, Idris Elba has this certain way he frowns with his brow. We had to change the face rig of our characters to be able to frown the way he personally frowns. He was really laughing when I told him because we spent hours looking at his face, said Sasko. We couldn't get his eye or lid movement and his frown of his brow. His left lid is slower than his right lid, and it's slightly closed. That means when he blinks, he has the off blink where you sort of have where it doesn't come at the same time. I remember how he looked without it, and you could tell, okay, it's him, but it's just a bit off. It was really difficult to tell what was off. If you're not trained in observing that, you're looking at it and you're like, I recognize the person clearly, but something's missing. Those are the tiny things that are incredibly impactful. And dude, this is exactly what was brought up with a lot of these, is that a lot of times the face rig is not going to have that much time changed because Idris was the main character chosen early. Keanu Reeves was chosen late, and we don't know when the Star Wars character was chosen or Control or those kind of things, but it does show that if you're doing a bunch of motion capture, humans' faces are as unique. There's a reason why Idris doesn't look like, I at least haven't walked down the street and said, hey, Idris, and it's like, I don't know who you're talking about, because human faces there's just billions of variations. But it was cool to hear him talking about the difficulties they had, even though they knew exactly who they wanted and they brought him in, they still had to change their face rig. And it makes sense. I'm not talking about the artistic weirdness we see in some games. I'm talking about the actual technical stuff, because I think that's easier to discuss. That was a really good, and there's other good stuff in this. Again, it's Riley McLeod from Aftermath who wrote this. Aftermath is the website. Really good article on a bunch of stuff about how they changed and adjusted things for Phantom, what was it called, Phantom Liberty. But I thought that was cool to sort of add some technical elements to it when the discussion is almost always either woke, anti-woke, doesn't care, cares too much, or why not just not mocap it and make a fantasy character? So there's all sides of the story. But that was a really good article. Clarified a bunch of stuff that happens, and also when you choose the actor and how it all works.
Yeah,
Did you
also?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it also makes sense for them to go through all that for Idris Elba, because I think they wanted that actor familiarity. Like he was a huge part of their marketing for the DLC. So I don't think every game should go through all that just to, even if it was like a no-name voice actor, it doesn't matter that much, you know what I mean? But I'm sure there are reasons why they come out uglier than they are. Like it's probably, I don't know if it's intended or not. Maybe sometimes it's would it be intended, or I don't know, but it makes sense for it to have a reason, like technical issues or something.
Yep.
I wouldn't think someone wants to make someone look uglier unless, I have no idea when it comes to that.
Well, I mean, it's also just awesome actual technical detail versus the consistent discussion where it's the echo chamber of it has to be this or it has to be they don't care or what have you. You can see these guys cared, at least. But it's also the choice of the actress or actor when they come in, too, which I thought was very interesting when they said how they went about with Keanu versus how they went about with Idris. And I do think that in Phantom Liberty, he looks closer than Keanu does to Keanu. I think Keanu looks close, very close. But there's something about Phantom Liberty that when you see him, you're like, whoa, it's almost like just a next level, I would say. It's not saying one's bad. It's just saying there was an extra little adjustment there that seems like that fidelity helped, which is always cool.
Captured his mannerisms really well.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, I couldn't stop thinking about The Office, because that's where I know Idris from. The Office, because that's also like, really? I think that's the only other performance where he speaks American. Maybe he has in other stuff too, but yeah, I know him from that's where I first saw him. But yeah, I know his mannerisms were captured very, very well, and obviously his likeness.
I would say, did you watch him in The Wire, the police show?
No, that everybody I still have to watch The Wire. Everybody says it's like the best show ever made, so I really wanna. I haven't watched it. I want to watch it as well because Lance Reddick is also one of my favorite actors of all time. So. I should, right?
You like him? What else has he been in? It's funny. I don't catch him in a lot of things, man.
Idris Elba?
Yeah, I've seen him in The Wire.
Yeah,
I did not see. I don't know the show. I don't know The Office well enough. I don't remember him in The Office at all. But I didn't watch The Office. I mean, I watched excerpts and occasional episodes. You're talking about the English version of Office, or the American version of Office,
right?
The
American version. Yeah,
okay, just making sure we're talking about the same.
Yeah.
Western games definitely have a strange track record of making female models look way less attractive in games. Not just Western. That's the thing. Very easy to assume that, but I know a couple
well, when
actors
you say Western, you mean everything, even Europe, and because that is one
Control
thing, right? Was
what's
part
Western
of,
mean? Yeah,
what's
Finland,
Western mean, right? Because other than that, usually when people say
Remedy.
Western, they mean not Japanese, right? But to my knowledge, not a lot of Japanese games do mocap and stuff that much.
Exactly.
They usually render their own. Yeah.
Did you see the really interesting bit from the developer a couple days ago who said that he felt the Japanese developers are going to have and continue to have a harder time catching up to the technical prowess of like this stuff for Western games. Even a game like you might even look at Atomic Heart or Stalker 2, we haven't seen how that'll look. But that the technical prowess, the engines that they work with, that's not their it doesn't appear to be their specialty, and they're still going with the more rendered character. Which I'm okay with. But see, that's the thing is I don't want either one to go away at all. Like, can you imagine how weird the world would be if we split it down the center and just said, all right, we're not doing this. We're just, it's all going to be this certain style. That would suck balls.
But dude, it's just, so playing Horizon and having every single side character, like every single choice of every single side thing be completely mocapped and look very real. Just thinking about Yakuza, and if it had that, because Yakuza, man, like it'd have 3 layers or like 3 different types of cutscenes where it's the CGI stuff, which it looks awesome, and you go down to like the story, but not really, and then there's like the side quests, and it's very jarring when you go from you get pulled back away from it and reminded that it's just a game and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's a game, but it's just that consistency isn't there, so it really pulls you out of it, pulls you out of the characters a lot. So just I wish they would go for that as well. I know it's like a lot of money, but I think it's awesome.
The dogs agree, as always. Right on time. Right on time. Every 30 minutes, the dogs are agreeing. Tresse Brothers. You know what? You guys can correct me on the pronunciation of that first name, but some of my favorite devs are in our chat right now. They made that's the game that I used to always get the name wrong, Star Traders Frontiers, because to me it was such it was such a sort of like a game. word, but my favorite game. Yeah. They made one of my favorite games of all time, man. I've got that on every device that's possibly to have on. It's always installed, man. If anybody gets a chance and you like your not roguelike, it's like exploration. It's got a mix of Dune, Royal Families kind of thing to it. Got some
dungeon elements,
darkest dungeon elements and stuff like that.
Manage your guys, yeah,
dude, you definitely need to check out their games. Very cool games. But Star Traders Frontiers is my favorite of their titles. Absolutely.
I love FTL. I love a lot of that style.
Any of those any of those titles.
Yeah, so.
I think those kind of games can work better on an Android device or a Windows device. Handheld. That kind of thing.
Portable, yeah,
which I think is awesome because I found myself playing a lot on those. Let's see. Super chat from SBZ, member for 1 month. There's an argument that Ubisoft's engine is bad for mocap, but they managed to mocap Cassandra really well. Oh, see, I don't... That's... Honestly, SBZ, I would say that is actually a good indicator of why they're not the greatest, because I do not believe... I believe that's the level that you're going to get from them. It is also a different engine, so be aware of that. It's a completely different engine. So, different engines 100% between the Ubisoft developers. But I don't necessarily think she was mocapped incredibly well compared to the actress. But it's still good, right? But not to the level of like Idris. That shit was weird. I was like, they dialed that in. But it's a good thing to talk about, is that different engines can do different things. Thanks for the shout out. Our latest game, Cyber Knights Flashpoint, is coming along super nicely. Yes, it is, man.
I've been following that closely. I love the ideas of that game. I haven't bought it yet. I don't usually.
Dude, that's the thing is, like, I don't even remember how I first found out about it. I was probably on like an Android, like Google store or something, and I saw it, and I'm not 100% into those games very much. But then I jumped in and I started diving into like all the different stuff that game does, and it's a little bit of everything, and something about that always excites me, especially on an Android game, because Androids or mobile games have a tendency sometimes to just feel like the same repetitive stuff. And this one was like, oh, I'm going to explore, I'm going to blockade this, this planet, I'm going to do this, and it just feels like there's always something that you can jump into and do. Griffin says, I know the person's highly problematic, but Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare still looks incredible in regards to how well realized he was on the technical aspect. I would have.
Yeah.
I mean, for the time,
right?
Yeah.
For the time. It was CGI though,
sure.
Right? Mostly. No, there was some in-game stuff too.
Yeah, there was some cutscene stuff.
Call of Duty was always ahead.
Call of Duty was always ahead. Exactly. Right. Mm-hmm. We could also go FMV like Sewer Shark and just say screw it. Just straight up go FMV.
Have you played Not for Broadcast?
Yeah.
The awesome game where it's just FMV, but you control the editorial stuff. Yeah, it's really cool.
I love the games. $5 super chat says, I love games. We're bringing in the
Hell yeah.
heat here with the narrative and really super deep super chats, man. I love games. I love games. It's probably the deepest super chats we've ever got. Let's see. Especially for the time, they did a pretty good goddamn job with Kevin Spacey. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think with Kevin Spacey, if you get Kevin Spacey in your game, you could just worry about audio, but I think that's when you put Kevin Spacey in your game, because Infinite Warfare had the Game of Thrones guy, and they did a pretty okay job with him as well. I can't remember his name.
Which Game of Thrones?
Curly-haired, the dark-haired guy from Game of Thrones.
Curly-haired,
one of the
dark
sons.
hair.
Yeah, super curly, like brunette. One of the main characters.
Not Jon Snow, his brother, right? No, Jon Snow?
I think it's Jon. Yeah, I think it's Jon Snow.
Okay.
Because he was in Infinite Warfare. Yeah, Jon Snow, Bitler says. Thank you.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one with the good campaign, right? I've never played that one. Yeah.
Space campaign where you can choose where to go and what fights to take on. Kit Harington, Kel says. Thank you, Kit Harington. That's it.
Right.
All right, so moving on from there. So anyway, if you guys get a chance, check out that article. Moving on from there, Dead Island 2 Sola. So my review of this is that it is probably some of the best locations you'll ever play in Dead Island 2. It's open. It's this giant festival that you go to that also, it's not a side story. It merges back into the main story, which I think is fascinating. It'll bring me to another topic I want to talk about, which is when a DLC opens up in a game and why that matters. But it's connected to a main story as well as some side stories. It's this giant festival, basically like Forza Horizon kind of festival, or Coachella or something. But here, all the zombies are more useful than the influencers who go to Coachella. They're
okay,
and they're awesome. There's new enemies. There's one called the Whipper who tears their own intestines out and whips you with their intestines, like Indiana Jones.
Beautiful.
But a really creepy version. And there's some issues with it. There's times where I don't know if their setup is necessarily correct for these large open spaces, because sometimes it takes a while to get to a zombie, and I can see some people thinking, oh, this isn't action-packed enough. But they also do what's at festivals. They do the back end of the festival, like where people are moving and working, and then they do the big, like stores and stuff like that, and they put them on these all of these different levels. So you'll go into a place and there'll be, a clothing store, a food store, some kind of. It's all based on that influencer Coachella kind of thing of like selling people shit. And then the music's in the background, so you'll go up and you'll be fighting zombies inside of a store that's selling special, shoes from the festival. And you'll be taking out zombies there, then leap off, run across a huge field where, people have been killed. They're sort of laying down. They jump up to fight, that kind of stuff, the typical things you see in Dead Island 2. But, dude, it's actually pretty sweet, man. It's not necessarily the longest. It's like 6.5 hours. Well, it's DLC, but 6.5 hours, and then it would take you another 3 or 4 if you wanted to do all the mini missions, kill all the bad guys. Well, you really can't kill all the bad guys because they're zombies.
Did it just come out?
It comes out either today or it's out, one of the two. And
because I never went through the game and beat it, so.
Well, and that's the thing. This opens up. There's a particular mission you do in the main house, and this will bring us to the conversation next, which is the smartness of when you have DLC added into your game, when you slot the DLC in, including Phantom Liberty. But when you look at how it's done, you're doing these main quests in the main game, and then this location opens up, and it's either house, which is their other DLC, which is their sadomasochistic like mystery house DLC that you go into where weird shit's been happening in this house due to the zombies and all that kind of stuff. And then you also have Sola, which opens up, and you can go to this festival and do those missions. It's also got 2 other weapons. It's got, a baseball bat with a saw blade and a saw blade shooter. They're okay. They're not really why I got into it. The enemies are the good ones. Like I said, there's the Whipper, but then there's also this blob enemy that as you hit them, they can sort of retreat by melting into liquid and move around the game world and then pop back up. I thought that was really cool.
No.
Felt very nice. Yeah. But, dude, it also looks amazing. I mean, I would say that this puts any part of Dying Light 2's best looking, not to shame, but it certainly matches it. Because you come out and there's all these cars parked, and coolers set out like a football game's tailgate party, and you come down into this field, this massive field, and it's got one of those entries where you're like, oh, this is pretty cool, and you hear that music blaring, and the side story matches, it merges into the main story, which I was quite surprised about. It did a good job of merging into the story and making it connected. You know how sometimes you play a DLC and you're all, how is it that nobody in the main world knows anything about what's going on in this giant place? Because it's been added later. It's not necessarily that ingrained, but it's ingrained enough. And I don't know if it's not going to bring you back to Dead Island. It's not going to make you buy Dead Island alone. But if you already own it, I think it's well worth playing. What were you saying? It's like you were saying something?
They always had really good level design and a lot of detail in the environments. And I think that's because, it's more focused than Dying Light, maybe, just because it's a smaller game or a smaller hub-based / level, smaller levels that you go through. That there were a lot of like twists and turns, almost Dark Soulsy, right? And
a little bit. And this is more
environmental
open,
storytelling was
so it
dope.
feels different. Yeah, the environmental storytelling is really good. And here it's good. You'll see, zombies killed in certain ways, and there's some stuff that happens here that actually does further the story. So that's one cool thing, is if you go off and do it and come back, you actually know more about the story than if you had just. It's not that thing where it shuttles you off to an unknown land and you do your thing over there and come back. It actually merges with the main story, which I thought was really good. Cool. But yeah, man, it's a pretty nice open world area. But again, it won't cause you to. That's the thing with DLCs, man. You really have to have liked the main game. Like a DLC is not going to pull you in.
Can you think of a DLC that sells a game other than XCOM 2 War of the Chosen?
Oh. Yeah, XCOM 2 War of the Chosen.
That's the only one I can think of.
Some people would say Phantom Liberty, but I don't agree. I would say their patch is what resold people on Cyberpunk.
True.
That
their
patch was
the big thing.
separate. Yeah, and people forget that. And they think it's a DLC, and it's like, that's. But I would say War of the Chosen. A DLC that sells the game. Own.
Maybe Far Harbor, or is it not that?
Far Harbor is pretty good. You're talking about Fallout 4's DLC, Far Harbor? Dude, that's primo. Yeah, Shivering Isles might get... Shivering Isles, no, because it separates you off. Yeah, Far Harbor's pretty... Even though Far Harbor separates you off, it turns it into horror, which is... There's something about it that's just straight up darker. Anybody else? Witcher 3? He just says Witcher 3. I don't know what he means. I don't think those DLCs would cause me to magically... I think Witcher 3... strong enough on its own.
I mean, the DLC is amazing, but I don't think the DLC is not the main purpose for getting the game right now. Yeah.
Again, it's for the fans, and then it might be an added value, but it's not necessarily selling you on the game. Where you were right, War of the Chosen is.
Yeah, that is the game, right?
That is the game. Yeah. Old World
Prey
Blues
Moon Crash,
was
if
great.
you want to just play a roguelike, I guess.
Yeah, Prey Moon Crash, but that was good.
That was really
But would that
good.
sell you on the game? I don't know if
I don't know.
It doesn't fit in with the game.
Maybe you're
right?
just like an avid roguelike only player, and then you're like, oh, there's a roguelike, and I mean, Hitman 3, I would, Freelancer, even though it's a free update, you could just play that, and if you like that type of game, but because Hitman 3, if you're playing through the actual levels, it's very defined. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff, but they're all very defined, and there's patterns. But Freelancer is just a complete takeoff from that. It's just random and procedural, and
Freelancer could probably sell you
use your wits.
Yeah, I think it's rare though, right? It's obviously
Very
rare
rare.
because Cheesy D says people say Dark Souls 2 is bad, but DLC is really good. If people are saying Dark Souls 2 is bad, I don't know where we are. I mean, it may not be up to the standards of that's pretty. I mean, is Dark Souls 2 bad?
A hit or miss for people. I feel like bad.
Yeah,
no,
but I mean, if it's miss, it doesn't mean it's bad as much.
For some people, but better than the others for other people. By the way, it's weird. It's a weird one. That one. Some people like 2 the most.
I like 3 the most, and I don't know if that's a hot take, but it might be. But I really did like 3.
I like 3 the most. Dark Souls 3 just fit. Man. I like 1's map more and 3's gameplay more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then I didn't really get a chance to experience much of the Dark Souls DLC. Just being honest, like it's like once I've gone through that game, the idea of going back in another 15 hours to hit that DLC is not.
You know, I
necessarily
really
enjoyable.
like Souls-likes. I even love Demon Souls, but Dark Souls not that much, honestly. Like I like
Hmm.
Elden Ring and Sekiro and Bloodborne more, and Neo 2 is my favorite out of those. So, um, yeah, I'm not like the biggest Dark Souls fan, but Demon Souls holds a special place in my heart for sure. I love Demon Souls, even though it's easier than the others and more, the boss fights aren't really skill. It's more like a puzzle for every boss. For most of the bosses, I
Mhm.
think the atmosphere is probably the best it's been for Souls games.
Bloodborne.
The Demon Soul. Oh well, Bloodborne has amazing atmosphere.
Right, that's
Probably,
what I'm asking. Do you think Bloodborne's
yeah.
technically the better of
Uh,
the two, atmosphere-wise?
yeah, I was comparing Demon Souls to Dark Souls, but Bloodborne. Oh, that's a hard. Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know, man. Maybe people would say Bloodborne for sure because it's a very unique atmosphere. It's a very unique setting. Um, but fuck, man, Demon Souls had amazing, and the music in Demon Souls was really, really good.
It is really nice, though, if you are a fan of those kind of games and you're tired of going through the game on your NG or whatever to get a DLC
Plus
because it is
seven.
that new location, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and that brings me up. So we had a discussion a couple days ago. So this is something that, luckily enough, I've had a chance to talk to a couple random developers about because they always see me talking about DLC and that kind of stuff. And the discussion had gone around when it comes in. When does DLC get entered into the main game? And we see most of the time it's a couple hours in. And one of the things I asked when I was talking to him is I was like, are you guys using heat maps and you're basically tracking the fall off of a game? So let's say a game's 40 hours. The general fall off of people not finishing it, let's say, is 18 hours. So do you guys go in at 15 hours and then that's where your DLC goes? And he's like, yep. Like, that's exactly what happened. Because it only made sense. You don't go at the end because you're at the tail. But at that part where, like, you're looking at people, you're looking at how long somebody's played, and you start identifying, oh, they're dropping off. And dropping off doesn't mean stopping. It might mean that you can tell their discovery brain parts aren't working as much. They're not going to every single thing you've shined a light on. The gamer might be slightly getting back into the main story to just, sort of beeline it and be done after their big exploratory stuff. And people entering DLC right there makes perfect sense. And we've seen it with so many games, man. So many games, and we've complained about it, where you're oh man, it's 12 hours into the game, and then you're all, yeah, it's 12 hours into the game. That makes perfect sense. Like, it makes sense from a developer standpoint.
My favorite type of DLC, I like the way Bethesda, like Fallout games have it, where it's just side quests there, and you can go at certain levels. Sure, you have to play a little bit at the start, sometimes a lot at the start, but I also really like it when they also layer the main game with stuff so that you don't have to, when you're going back into the main game, there's something new there, maybe like an affix or something, or new loot, or a new mechanic, a whole new mechanic that just adds so you could replay the actual game. I never go into a DLC, and other than maybe Moon Crash, when a DLC comes out, I replay the main game anyway, because Witcher has an option where it could just start you at the beginning of the DLC with a pre-made character at level 30. But if you start with that, I just feel like that not only is the character not mine, and I don't feel like that attached, I guess, but you start with all these skills and gameplay that you haven't played in so long that you're just kind of lost, you know what I mean? So it's a really difficult thing to tackle, because you also probably want to make a DLC in the middle towards the middle of an RPG where you have a lot of things unlocked and things have already been established. So yeah, I doubt it's really easy to decide those things.
Yeah, and especially because, like, let's say there's a skill trainer in your main game, but because of the way your side game is set up, there's no skill trainer. You want that person to have some skills when they go into the DLC, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you're just sort of screwed. Or you want to have the ability to, let's say, grind up if you go into the DLC. So it's like we still have to have giants in, let's say, Elden Ring. We still have to have, there's something that they have to have, and this is why Dark Arisen, or the new DLC or whatever we get for Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be very interesting to me, because I would say personally, it certainly feels like most people spent a massive amount in the starting area, some part in the ending or in the second area to explore, get the new, get a vocation here or there and do their stuff, but ended up still going back to the starting area. So I'm wondering what they're looking at if they're going to do DLC for Dragon's Dogma 2. Where they're going to, where's this portal going to be Or where's this giant tower going to be? I did find some secret stuff in Dragon's Dogma 2 that certainly looked like DLC placeholder. There were a couple places that I was all, is that a door that I can't get through because...
Yeah, blocked off.
Yeah, or certain
doors.
locations that looked like you could add something here, or you could do something here. When you look at the map, especially viewed out.
In the middle.
One thing I loved about the Dragon's Dogma map, too, is if you zoom in really close, you can still see the entire map. And I thought that was awesome, because everybody I know did not know that in our chat. And I was like, if you zoom in, you can still see where all the roads and trails are. It looks black, but when you zoom in, you can still trace
can see little paths.
Yes.
Right,
And so when you're talking to somebody about a shortcut, they're like, oh, I can't see it. And you're like, technically, zoom way in, and if you look, you actually can see those roads. And that's cool, because it's more like... I don't know. It's better than true Fog of War, which is just jet black. You know, I sort of I love that little design. But yeah, DLC,
it's the
man.
Same thing with the. I think Elden Ring did that, where if you have an unexplored territory of the map, if you zoom in, you can actually tell where the map is to pick it up, so it could fill up your map. You can but it's very it's very hidden. You really have to kind of look.
I still know people that played Dragon's Dogma and just found out yesterday that the pause screen is a clock.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think it was one of the guys who might be in chat was like, I opened up the pause screen and I realized, oh no, it was Denovan. He was playing the game, and he looked and he's like, wait, the sun has moved. What? And then he looked out and he's like, oh my god, it's a clock.
It's a clock.
Like,
yeah.
It only makes sense, but it was cool because it was a moment of discovery after 111 hours of a game. Even though technically maybe you should know it, as in maybe the game should have been clear on some things, but whatever. One of those nice things. Let's see. How did Frozen Wilds in Horizon 1 open? Because you played that more recently, right? Do you remember how that one unlocked?
Yeah, so it was just a side quest. You have to be level 30 to unlock it.
Level 30.
I didn't do it until before the last main mission, but it was a pretty short game for me because I only mainlined it, right? But yeah, you just go off to the northeast area, and then you meet I think the Banuk, right?
Yeah.
Silences people, and then it just starts off from there.
And it's got a cool side story that helps the main.
It changes depending on where you are. So if you knew certain people, you can ask about them, and they get brought up in conversations. And if certain events have transpired, like understanding the world, more questions arise, and it's very cool. A lot of attention and detail on that. Even with I'm noticing that a lot in Forbidden West, where if you've already done stuff, and then quests ask you about them, you can, the dialogue changes. I really appreciate these little things.
Dude, there's a dopamine rush on pleasing your father because he asked you to do something you've already done it.
Yes, exactly.
Straight up.
Mow
the lawn. Mowed it already. And he's like, good boy. And you're like, yeah, dude, I'm awesome. I love going up to somebody and they're like, can you get me 10 skins or whatever? You're like, I already got them, man. It feels it's a mini dopamine rush, but it's a little like, it's almost like fighting a little narrative boss. Yeah. You noticed me. You really, really noticed me. But looking at this kind of stuff with DLCs, I'm going to be interested to see how Atomic Heart handles. I think they have one more DLC. I don't know, but I want to check out the Candyland DLC they have. And I know it didn't rate the best, but Atomic Heart also had weird ratings where I saw a lot of people loving it and a lot of people just like, what is this? I liked it a lot. Me too. So I'm hoping we're going to get it would depend on how the story goes, but I'm hoping we get a sequel to that. Stalker 2, how are they going to handle their DLC, if they're going to have any? Assassin's Creed Red, how are they going to handle it? Star Wars is already, we know, because the Jabba mission is only available on the higher version, so there's DLC. And that DLC is built into the game, so in the future, are they going to say, here's a new planet? And then you know how that times when you walk to a spaceport in a game and it's like you can go to Aquila, let's say Starfield or something. You can go to Aquila, you can go to, Neon, blah, blah, blah. Adding another planet there would be weird because it's like that person just suddenly got a note, a PDA saying we can talk about this other planet. I'm hoping these games added into the narrative. Like we discovered a star map or just a little bit.
They already have so many planets they can add stuff to, right?
Yeah.
Nobody would notice. Just look up what planet people visited the least and just
and just add DLC to that. Yeah. Go to the heat map and check if people aren't using something. Do we add something there, or do we look at it and say it's a lost cause? Like maybe it's the travel there is difficult or something. Maybe there's some little stymied thing.
We know how the game works, they could do something with that stuff. I don't know if it's a spoiler by now. Is it a spoiler
For
by
which
now?
game?
I shouldn't say anything. For Starfield, like kind of the new game
Oh
plus
yeah,
stuff.
no, absolutely. It's still Endgame plus NG plus. It changes things. So yeah, you could definitely do stuff there. It's pretty sweet. I'm hoping they do, because I would like new versions, because I got to sit in and see somebody this week or last week. I think I already talked about it, but last week find an NG plus and just be like, "Are you shitting me, really?" And I want that in every game now. I love the idea of that kind of NG plus, not just the NG plus and all your weapons are more powerful. It's like, let's change up the narrative. But I'm going to read some super chats. ACG Stalker 2 has like 3 versions you can pre-order, so definitely have DLC. Right. Well, that doesn't mean it's going to have DLC. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm saying I've seen 3 versions where, they just give you some pants.
Inclusive.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. I'll check. It's not that I don't agree with you. I just don't know if those are absolutely have to be connected.
The Final Fantasy 16 DLC just came out. I just noticed.
I know. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna dive back in. I didn't know until right now, but I at some point I kind of want to do it. Check it out, because I like the gameplay of that game, man.
I do too,
really
but
like
boy,
the combat.
the story was at times pretty good and poignant, and then other times it really dropped the ball. Yeah, really, that's a good way
when
to
you
put
hear
it.
me talking about issues with Final Fantasy 14 storytelling, it's literally exactly that, where they have you super boring dialogue and just exposition and stuff, and then a really cool high moment comes up where it's like, whoa, and really cool boss fight, and you see like the world changing and everything's going crazy, and then back down to low. That's how Final Fantasy 14 is, and that's how 16 was, where you get amazing boss fights, and then in between those, just the most boring, even in the not just the side, I'm not talking about the side quests, even within the main story, you get super boring sections. They have to really look at. Yeah.
Reading some of these just random chats. People say Dark Souls 2 is bad, but DLC is really good. Old Boy says Destiny. I think he's talking about what games where the DLC helped it. Yeah, Destiny is a weird title to even talk about when it comes to DLC and what they've vaulted or not vaulted. Most Souls DLC are as good as or better than the base games. T-Monk says, I think people more so say that it's a bad Souls game, but a good game overall. It's probably correct. That's probably a good way of putting it. Dylan says Dark Souls 2 was good, but the Scholar version was a noticeable step down.
Oh, that's a remastered version?
Yeah, I believe it is.
That happened with 1 as well, right? Scholar of the First Sin? I thought that was the first one.
Yeah, I think the Scholar version is like a remake. I never played that. A Blind Mephisto says, glad I'm not the only one. I 1K'd the achievements for all 3 Souls games, but never played any DLC. Onumiru says Neo feels more like 3D fighting games, though. Different pacing, different style with combos and such. But it's definitely a Dark Souls game, straight up. Like it'd be very difficult.
Anything with the bonfire mechanic, I just call it like that is what makes it Souls-like. By bonfire mechanic, I mean the process of where you can only use XP at the bonfire. If you die, enemies reset. Right. If you bonfire, enemies reset. You got to go back to your dead body. That is what constitutes a Souls-like. Yeah.
Kiggs says Diablo 3 expansion made a lot of people buy the game.
Which one?
Diablo 3's expansion.
Oh, yes. That improved
what was that
game
called?
A shit ton. It's the one where they added, not Necromancer. Necromancer was a little thing after that. It's the one where they added Act 5, which is called...
I don't remember that one.
That one was great, and it came with a console release. Reaper of Souls, yeah, that one made the game much better. It changed a lot of stuff, added an end game and stuff. Yeah, it was a good one. That's a good example.
Terrence says GTA 4 is one of the only story DLCs that doesn't have RPG elements. GTA 4 is one of the only story DLCs. GTA 4 is one of the only. He's not saying GTA. Yes, he's not talking about GTA 4. Okay, he's talking about the 2 expansions. Yeah.
They were just story, play a character.
Yeah,
is that what you mean? I think that's.
I think that's what he means. That's fair. Let's see. 16 squandered so much in a story and characters. Fitness Mad says, honestly feel Final Fantasy 16 would have been a better game if they dropped all the open world and made it fully linear and 20 hours long.
They could have.
I don't know if I would consider it a better game, but they could have. Yeah, they could have, because it was definitely lean. on the side stuff, right?
It was.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, the hunts were really, really fun, but the world was just there for you to, travel is good. I like travel in a lot of games, but there has to be the travel has to be its own thing. It has to be,
Yep.
even if there's nothing, you know what I mean? Like it
Yep.
has to mean something, and it just didn't mean anything in that game. You know what I mean? So
And they're
yeah, I
saying
definitely agree
Reaper
with you
of
there, I think.
Souls is the Diablo expansion
Reaper of
that
Souls.
added stuff. Reaper of
Yeah.
Souls. Yeah. I think BioShock 2 Minerva's Den was a big draw as far as DLC, enticing people to play the base game. BioShock 2's Minerva's Den. That's the one that BioShock just gets smashed, man. You know? Just gets it gets
I love
lumped up.
BioShock 2. I know a lot of people don't like it.
I know a lot of people like it too, but it gets in
Minerva's
the zeitgeist,
Den
it gets
added-
smashed.
Yeah,
I think it was good.
it does. Yeah, Minerva's Den. I think it added a lot of lore to the to where like Big Brothers and shit came from, right? Isn't that the one?
I don't
Big
remember.
Daddies and Big Brothers.
I don't remember. I played the main.
Hmm.
I would say also another game that doesn't have great DLC, but the main games are good is Batman titles. I felt like the Batman titles did not do great on their DLCs. That's just my own personal opinion. I'm sure somebody will disagree, but like, they'll have
I don't remember.
they'll have some side missions for a character or something like that. You'll get, it's sort of pseudo DLC.
Oh yeah, play a different character.
Yeah, like what was one of them? You played Catwoman regardless, right? Catgirl, Catwoman, Kitty Woman.
Yeah, I think
whatever.
you played Catgirl.
I think you played her
Deadshot was added,
regardless. But was Deadshot added?
right?
I don't know. I feel like their DLC isn't noteworthy enough to remember their. But
I've never played a DLC by them.
Yeah, it feels a little odd. Sailor Mercury, Final Fantasy 16 felt too Western for me.
It was Western.
That's actually Western. Yeah, that's fair.
It was Western.
It
it's made for Western audiences. It was,
Yeah.
But honestly, I like that writing far more than any other I think Final Fantasy writing is not my taste at all. The campy, awkward, weird anime shit. I'm not a huge fan of. Like Final Fantasy 7 makes me cringe a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reading a super chat from Patron. Fruitoid says, "What's your favorite martial arts movie, Carrick, and anyone there?" Favorite martial arts movie. I mean, Enter the Dragon's classic, but I would say favorite martial arts movie, Perfect Weapon, or... Dude, did you ever see Red Dragon? I think it's called Kiss the Red Dragon. It's with Jet Li.
Yeah.
When Jet
Yes,
Li
of
is like
course.
the assassin.
I was thinking of Jet Li like just now.
Yeah, that one was,
Yeah.
it was current enough where he was fighting people that were, normal people. They weren't like all martial arts masters waiting in a temple somewhere, but it still had a lot of the, older style powder flying off a guy's face. I love that, by the way. I love that they powder somebody's face so when they hit it, you pooh, and you see that impact. That was a good movie overall, and it's the only movie I've ever seen where somebody kicks a 8-ball into somebody's head and kills them. And I was like, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
was awesome.
That was the movie where you remember back before streaming days where you just flip through channels, and every time it was on, I would just watch it. Always flip through and it'd be on somewhere.
That was back Bridget Fonda, right? Not Jane. Yeah, Bridget Fonda was in it, and she's like Lake Placid, one of my favorite. I loved her as an actress. She was in the Hitman, not Femme Fatale. It was the other one where she was a hit. Gabriel Byrne was her handler, and she was an assassin. And I adored her, and she was in that one as the prostitute that he saves. And I just thought Jet Li did a really good job. Jet Li also, though, we were joking about this. Jet Li's a lot like The Rock, or a lot like Jackie Chang, where they don't have sexual chemistry with anybody. It doesn't work. And it was funny because I was seeing Jet Li in that, and he's saving her and stuff, and they sort of are hinting about a relationship. They did the same thing with the other one where he played with the singer who has passed away, Aaliyah, I think is her name. But he did a movie with her, and I think it was him. And there's no sexual chemistry. I've noticed with some actors in the martial arts movies, they sort of instead have a best friend who's a girl. It doesn't work. La Femme Nikita, thank you. Yeah, so La Femme Nikita, I think, is the TV show. I feel like for some reason the movie was something else, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, they're just friends because the sexual chemistry doesn't work out no matter what. It's always odd. Like I was joking with the guys last night saying The Rock is great in a lot of movies. I love just watching movies and stuff like that with him in it. But the idea of him banging away, big old sweaty, The Rock banging away in a sex scene creeps me the shit out, man. I don't need to see that. I don't ever want to see it. I don't need to see him in those kind of things. Old Boy says, Absy, curious what makes the difference then, because Yakuza has a lot of anime moments. I don't know what he's talking about. Is he talking
think what
about
helps
Final Fantasy versus?
because I said Final Fantasy is to anime for me. What I mean by that is let's see, how do we break this down? There's a lot of anime tropes. I like anime. I watch a lot of anime. Well, a lot. I just watch the big, like, good ones. But there are some tropes that I don't really like. For example, the dude protagonist that two girls like overly flirt with, but he has to choose one, but he doesn't really, because he's like really awkward and he doesn't get their sexual advances, but they're always sexually advancing, but they're like hee.
Right.
I don't like that hee bullshit. There's a couple like playing adolescent teenagers a lot. It's a lot of pedo shit. You got a little animal girl that's like 1,000 years old, but she looks 15, so it's okay. There's a lot of stuff I just don't really care for. And Yakuza, while it does have some of these tropey things, but mostly like it's like the comedic nature of Yakuza, and sometimes they're making fun of it.
Right.
But at least you play grown men, right? And it has a lot of this Japanese kind of like over the top, boss fight, facing down each other and shit. And I think that stuff is really cool.
I always felt
I
that
never
Yakuza
found
teases
Yakuza
it
that.
versus.
They do tease it, but they like, okay, Yakuza 3 and 4 got a little bit off the rail. 3 not so much, but 4, for example, with the big twists, crazy twists, that was very soap opera, not too anime, I would say, but very, very soap opera. And that one made me go like, okay, dude, but for the most part, Yakuza does not make me cringe like the others. And there's stuff where you hear where, a good example of that is the character from Persona 5. What's his name? Or Eugen or whatever the fuck. Where he goes like, all right,
That
come on, dude.
That is the Starfield.
I don't like that type of
cyberpunk group. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm not a fan. Yeah. So there are some stuff, overall, I do like anime. I do like JRPGs, you know what I mean? But there are just some things that cringe me a lot.
I think sometimes we get too in the weeds of even discussing like why. I mean, I like a bunch of Western shooters, what have you, but there's some I don't like. And getting too into the weeds is then just like all you're really getting into is you just didn't like it. It's like I think the one positive of Yakuza is it teases it so much that then it becomes you're part of honestly what I think some of us think when we see it in a normal game. Where you're like, oh, come on, that's a little weird. So instead, Yakuza is like, here's some men in diapers. And you're just like, oh, funny, dude, man. That's awesome. Yeah, because it might be something I might engage in those games and love them anyway. But at the same time, I'm like, that's a little weird, and you laugh it off. On the other hand, there were some weird missions where it wasn't as teasy because it was serious, which is the Judgment series, where like you're investigating people for things, and those things are almost a harder version of the joking that goes on in Yakuza, which is why I think I love them even more. I like it, but you certainly couldn't say that it doesn't have some of the same tropes. It's just how the tone
like
of
Japanese
it. Tone
tropes
is a big
and there's
deal.
Anime tropes, you know what I mean?
True that. Yeah, true that. Right? There's definitely
There's a weird like Japanese, guy girl. I don't want to say the word, but that kind of ish culture. You might know what I'm saying, and they have it a lot in their porns and stuff, and that's kind of more of a Japanese thing. And I mean, it does seep into anime, but there's a lot of weird shit, that they get away with. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I have to like dance around the exact words. Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to it, like back on the DLC front and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially when we're looking at some of these games, I don't think there's a lot of games where the DLC causes people to get the game. But I do think Cyberpunk's was a good timing. Cyberpunk, they were like, we're going to do that. We're going to fix the game and make it at least usable. And they agreed with a lot of people who had problems with it because they fixed all those problems. So it's like, even if you liked it day one, I think most people I know who liked it day one still like it better now. I could be wrong on that. There might be people who like the old skills and stuff. I would be surprised that they do. But there's probably people out there. But there's very few games that do sell the game. And I think probably that one and its patch, but I think the patch is more important. And then War of the Chosen. There's not a lot of them that do that. And back to martial arts movies, we did figure out it is Point of No Return that I was talking about with Bridget Fonda. That was an awesome one. So here's a new bit, AI discussion. So I don't know if you've seen this, but this will be fast. But Musk has been talking about AI, and this is something that goes with chip vendors as well. Chip vendors are having issues making chips for video cards, because AI has replaced video cards as the most used reason, just like Bitcoin replaced gamers for a while, that kind of stuff. And so they've been talking about the big thing for the longest period of time has been the chip makers being late. Or not having the supplies, entire chip lines have shut down. But Elon Musk recently said the biggest one is energy, a little bit like Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's amount of energy output. And I just want to put it down here. I absolutely think sooner rather than later, if not already via proxy companies, we're going to see the return of a lot of people talking about atomic power. Because it's been a no-no here, like especially in America, where they're shutting down. There's one nation, I can't remember where it is, to the north, where I think they shut all theirs down. But as we get AI, we're going to start seeing like Microsoft hiring companies to go, start telling people, hey, you know what? Your power was out because this, some coal mine shut down or whatever. But if we have atomic power, and it reminded me of like Fallout for some reason. I don't know why, but it all came together. I was just sitting back reading
fusion core reactors.
Yeah, I was reading the stuff about the Fallout TV show and the games and all this stuff, and then this popped up. And just randomly, when he said it, I was like, oh, shit. I can see him or Microsoft or NVIDIA or AMD on the phones going, let's make a company called, whatever. I don't know. Make the Earth Green Inc. But really what we're doing is, Vault-Tec. But what we're doing is trying to get atomic power in more places. It's going to be an interesting ride, man, because power is going to be a huge deal. I mean, we're already starting to see it become a massive deal around here and stuff. But it was an interesting topic that I saw that he popped off on, and it mimics what I felt with Bitcoin.
Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think we're going to try to look at atomic power for new 100%? Solutions?
No, I'm saying that like you can mark they will for sure happen. Okay. Because, especially when I, started studying up on some of the issues with some of the way we do power and how we've slipped away from it, there's going to be all kinds of like government, or not government, sorry, but political groups that come out of the woodwork that are new. You're like, that's new. I haven't heard of them before, but they got some good stuff to say about atomic power. We've increased the regulations. By the way, I'm not against it. In fact, I'm actually very pro the idea.
I'm very curious
of
to see
atomic power.
The two main ideologies where they would stand on the atomic power. I'm very, very curious because you got the people who don't believe in global warming.
AI is trillions of dollars.
Don't like big corpo.
They're going to want to push that. They're going to figure out ways to get groups. But it was interesting. Next up, more interesting trophies coming to Ghost. Sorry, here's a super chat. Oregon, $5. Have you guys seen the new AI music generator? Surprised how good they are. I did. I messed with them this weekend and made songs about people in our Discord, and it is a step beyond what I ever expected AI music to be. Reg DM'd me in the middle of the night, and he's like, dude, have you seen the new update? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on the website right now. Like, this is ridiculous.
Is there AI that masters tracks? Like a mastering engineer?
That's been around for a while where we're already using some, little machine learning behind the scenes. But yeah, you can get VSTs now that are running AIs and stuff like that. Yeah. And you can copy other mastering. So you could say Led Zeppelin has this sound in their masters.
Yeah.
Wow. But
it would adapt.
I made a song called 90s Hard Rock, Epic Guitar Solo, raging vocals, and made a song about our people in the Discord, and it hit every. As well? It does vocals perfectly. No, I don't mean. By the way, when you've seen voice actors saying they lack emotion, that's done. That's gone. This is beyond belief. I mean, the ones I've seen even posted on our Discord, you're listening, going, "What the shit?" I mean, and they get the dude. Not only that,
and shit.
I didn't fill up the song enough with lyrics, and it wrote its own lyrics that went with the song. So, like I said, it was a jokey one. It was like, you know how old 1990s, like, hard rock would be like, rise up against the power, raise your swords. And I just put in the most generic stuff possible, but I hadn't filled it all in. And the last part, it sang a chorus on its own that I had not written, and it's scary.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Here's a little trolley problem question, all right? Would you rather an indie kind of, dude making something very unique with AI, or a big company churning out this formulaic, top 40 shit over and over to make money?
I don't think there's either or. Do you mean they're both going to continue,
they're
right?
both extremes. These are two extremes: using AI and making something completely unique, or not using AI but churning out a money-making formula for a catchy song for, fucking Sony or something.
I don't think there's one without the other. I don't see a world where one. If you're saying like somehow we were to cut it and say you can only have one of the two.
No, not only have one of the two, but so, how some people would be like, okay, so AI is immoral to make something with AI, for example, versus using the same formulaic approach with the lazy writing to make something catchy and just release hit after hit to make a ton of money. So I'm wondering if people like what would they see as more moral? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Because they both are considered lesser talent than a person learning guitar for 12 hours a day and then writing and singing like Bieber on a street corner. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, would you rather be creative with AI or not be creative at all with with those big company formulas?
Yeah. I don't know. I just know that I see a bunch of people who are using Beatmasters in Fruity Loops and VSTs doing, on the beat and all this stuff. And then they write their own, loops, and then they write their own stuff, and I still consider that music. So to me, it's beyond my bailiwick. Like, it's beyond my ability. And here's the thing. If I listen to something, okay, let me tell you how good this AI music was. I caught myself singing it 2 hours later. That, to me, is ridiculous. And I sent it to Dev Guy, and he's like, that can't possibly be AI. Because it can't possibly be. And I'm like, it is AI. Go to the website. And he went and he made one. He's like, there's one called, it's a 1950s. It's sang like a 1950s song from Fallout. And it's called I Shaved My Bush and I'm Ready to Go. And it is absolutely what you would expect to hear in a Fallout game. Perfectly. You should check it out. It's pretty scary.
Well, there's mods coming out now. Add like 1 million songs to the Pip-Boy.
I love the idea of adding, messing around with friends, because I like took some of the stuff we joke about with in chat and made good songs. It was pretty cool. Trophies coming to Ghost of Tsushima on PC. This was announced. PlayStation has shown it. So it's not the final step, man. This is like step one of many. Sony's got the service games. They've got PC ports. They're adding trophy support. They're going to drag their feet as long as possible to do day and date, I think, for their big titles. But with console gaming having not really grown in totality, it's just switching gen to gen, and people are doing PC and handhelds and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I feel like it's late, actually. I expected a little earlier, but Ghost is a good game to put it in there. I don't care about it, but I think I saw a lot of positive feedback. People were very stoked to have trophies in Ghost. So there you go.
Don't you already have Steam achievements? Cool.
You do. You could. I mean, there's all kinds of achievements in the different, different storefronts.
Why would you want PS trophies on PC other than if you're a PS owner?
It takes your profile and it adds it, and people.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's mostly for PlayStation owners, right? Because if you're just a PC owner, why would you give a shit?
Right. Yeah. You add your profile. It takes that in. It'll show you a friends lists, which is nice. That's something that we definitely need. If you're playing, even if you can't join them in crossplay, I would like to see if somebody is playing it on
it would
console
be a step
just
forward
for the
to crossplay, which is awesome, right?
It'll be a step towards it. Yeah. Sony seems to really not want crossplay as much, but I don't know if that's just them being a little slower to react to. Nintendo's super slow, right? Like they're really slow. I think Sony's a little bit more tentative. They still want to move forward. They'll look. And then Microsoft's the most forward. So it's like, it makes sense. It makes sense. Ghost is a huge title. We've been waiting for it for a long time. I think it's a perfect title to do trophies. If you care. And like you said, if you don't have a profile or what have you, my only hope is it doesn't require you to make one. I think
that's the issue, right?
So let me explain a little problem I have with this. Sony's given a pretty bad track record for getting hacked. So the idea that, like, my friend who doesn't want a PSN profile, but they're making him make one, the same way with any company, by the way, having you make it's just one more place to get hacked online. It's one more spot that you find out on I am pwned has been hacked. Yeah, and so forcing you to make one for an arbitrary system, I'm assuming it won't do that. It would be really weird, but It's possible.
Yeah, it should just be an option if you link or not link your. You can already link your account in Returnal and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know
right.
why, but you can. It doesn't do anything.
I don't know. I just think this is their step forward. Each game will have a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll link mine. It's no big deal, but it doesn't like make me excited.
As long
but
as it's a
I
step
did see people
forward
were excited.
to bridging the gap between systems so you can play with others, that's all I would care about. I don't really care about trophies.
Yeah, I want to see the crossplay become a thing.
Yeah.
I want to see crossplay just
and
be
not just
expected
from the game, right? Yeah. Just like have it as a system behind.
Yeah.
So that you could do it with a lot of games.
Even so, when I say crossplay, because actually that's incorrect. When I say crossplay be a thing, it is a thing a lot of times. PC and Xbox or PC and PlayStation. I want to see PC, Nintendo, and Xbox.
Sure, yeah. That's an undertaking. Yeah.
It is, but imagine, I bet you I could sell a friend on a Nintendo Switch 2 version of a game if I'm playing it on the PC. And I say we can play together, right? You know, there's that.
Yeah.
Because it's just one more game you can join. You know, if they're like, I don't know if I want it. It's like, well, we're all going to play today. And you have a Nintendo Switch or you have a PlayStation, and now you can play against Xbox, you know, Sea of Thieves, that kind of stuff. Dude, gaming's changed. Like, the one thing I don't think people understand is, like, especially when you look at how the consoles are sort of the same hardware-wise, especially when they switch to the new chips and away from the custom shit, we're never going to see that big jump anymore. I mean, unless Microsoft does switch to ARM and there's some improvements there that we're not expecting. But when you look at it, it's like the big change could be stuff like this, where finally the change is on the gamer side, not on the tech side. Like, I know you weren't so happy with this gen, because I remember you guys discussing it, and you were definitely not in the minority. Console-wise.
Like, exclusive-wise, I meant.
Right,
yeah.
And I just don't think we are going to see that. I think what we will see is where the features and stuff, it won't be, you know, I don't know if we're going to see those big jumps. Remember, like, Xbox having a hard drive? That was mind-blowing. But there's no tech now, at least that we've seen on the horizon. There's no real tech. AI chips are in some CPUs. But I don't think there's...
AI chips is the big thing for console right now.
It could be if they use it for something, right?
Yeah. Ray tracing, I mean, they still didn't.
And I don't know about you, man. I have followed sound for a long time in consoles. I can't tell you that I've magically noticed some huge increase on the PlayStation for having their special audio chip, or the huge increase on the Xbox Series for having their audio chip. You know what I mean? Like, it's more like, oh, it supports more codecs, or it's because it's all fake 3D, you know, or it's pseudo 3D and stuff. We haven't seen those jumps, but I don't know. Maybe there's a tech out there that'll.
Do you use the 3D audio for
like
PlayStation?
DTSs or some crazy stuff like you mean that little hear water running in 5 different ways in their options.
I never know with those options, right? To enable or disable some games.
Not only that, dude, but I'm sure you've done this where it works in one game and you go into another game and you're like, what the hell?
Trash.
You know? Yeah. It's like HDR.
Because a lot of the time stereo audio is just way better than their built-in 3D stuff.
When you have some good, earbuds or headphones, and that's just the way you play it, and as long as you can get that, just the stereo itself, that's for a lot of people is more than enough.
Binaural audio, which presents a whole load of its own issues.
Binaural audio is good as a YouTube video.
Yeah.
To sit there and hear somebody cutting your hair, as the original demo was, or a knock. But we certainly, there's a lot of faking you can do in normal systems that work quite well, on their own, that don't need all the big things. But I don't know. People in chat, if you would disagree and you see some hardware on the horizon that I'm not thinking of, it would massively change games. I'd like to know what it is. I think for, what do you call it? Handhelds, it's battery. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to turn your handheld on and not worry about the battery for 10 hours?
Like the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, where it's like, a couple days, you got like 20-something hours with it, and then you got the Sony one, which is like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then the Xbox is in the middle. Battery with all this like crazy shit they add to the controllers for sure would be, dude, the battery game needs to step up in general, and portables and controllers and everything.
Dude, the ROG Ally sells, there's a battery pack for it that looks like a baby arm and you just slap it on the back. It looks like something I would make, like when I made my own portable with the fucking huge tablet stuck to the 360 controller. It looked like something I would make, and that's not what I want to see from a professional company. But that's the problem, because batteries just have to be bigger to be deeper. Like, we need to figure out a way to do it. Other $5 super chat. Really hope they bring more AAA games, which are Steam Epic every time, to Xbox PC app, so I can earn Xbox achievements. Steam Chivos are unsatisfying. Hey man, that's a. I joke around about achievements, but it obviously matters to people somehow, and I don't know. I get it. I'm not going to diss on it. I like to tease it, but it's obviously a deal. So, yeah, I back you up on that. I would like to see it as well. I would like to see it as well, because you got to be happy for your friends.
Sometimes it hits purely due to how it's implemented. Like the Xbox 360, I was addicted to that shit. Gamer score was all I cared about, man. But
exactly. I think that's a difference. Trophies matter less to me. Achievement score is a little like a totality score.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit more interested in.
Yeah.
When it comes to Ghost, let's talk about the PC version. So we get the PC version of Ghost coming in. Looks like my battery's going to go dead. We got the PC version of Ghost coming in. Did you see the specs that it requires? Not horrible.
I saw the image. I didn't really look at it closely.
Not horrible. Not
normal,
horrible,
right?
Man. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I think the specs are pretty much what people would hope for. Anybody in chat, if you disagree and you think those specs are unfair. Ghost of Tsushima on PC.
I think it's going to be the best-selling PlayStation game on PC, other than Helldivers.
Bar none.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I do believe that. There's even above. I know Horizon supposedly did well.
Other than Helldivers,
this last one.
You know?
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
That's the only one.
I think better.
Really? You think?
I think I'm wrong, but I'm going to bet it. I think I'm wrong. But Ghost is a different beast, and I think there are a ton of people who want to replay it, a ton of people who want to play it for the first time, and it offers a different style of open world with the HUD and all that. Open world sells like it's magic how well they sell. How many has Helldivers sold though? Maybe I'm really screwing up here.
Helldivers though is a zeitgeist, but I mean,
yeah, I could be. I think I'm wrong. I think
plus
that's
it's multiplayer and $40.
Yeah.
But in terms of single player, I literally think because Ghost of Tsushima is the most asked for PC port other than Bloodborne.
Dude, yeah, other than
Bloodborne.
Bloodborne would also.
Time.
Dude, imagine
Bloodborne
this.
Would sell like hotcakes.
Let me tell you how to sell Bloodborne on the PC. Imagine this magic. You turn on fucking Ghost, and it says new game, options, credits. Trailer for Bloodborne on the PC. Just a trailer.
Shit. Just a trailer. Imagine.
Do you know what the world would do? Dude, it would stop. Elon Musk would be like, we don't need to worry about atomic power.
Everyone would forget about console wars. People would forget about famine. They'd forget about Africa. You know,
that would be incredible. About
Palestine and Israel.
And I don't love Bloodborne, but I'm not. I mean, you can look and go, yeah, that would be. Imagine that. Well, remember when was it Halo that had Crackdown 3's demo, or Crackdown 3 that had Halos?
Crackdown had Halo 3, or Halo 3 had Crackdown. One of those.
One of the two, right? And it works, man. It works when you're looking for something.
Crackdown had Halo 2 or something. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
one of those.
But dude, imagine that shit. Imagine being like, what? And it just says Bloodborne coming to PC trailer, and you hit it, and maybe it's just like a momentary
they don't do
trailer.
Those things anymore, man.
Well, that's because some jackass reviewer like myself had accidentally leaked it or something.
Leaks are, man.
That's why you need a day one patch. You need a day one instant one patch. And then, so imagine, I'm trying to sell their game now, but imagine this. Ghost of Tsushima is coming out, and there's a day one patch. They tell reviewers there'll be a day one patch. We're just going to fix some clipping. There's, Jen, we're going to adjust the horse animation a little bit. Nothing big. And then you update it. And the first person, that Steam, people go to New Zealand or what have you, and they download it, and you'd hear the rumors start up first. Oh my God, there is a trailer for Bloodborne coming to PC in the credits. And then people would be like, it's AI, it can't be real. And then people post the video, and then Sony, if they're smart, would just not say anything and let that. People would be like, dude, it'd be awesome.
is a good porter.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They do a very good job, man.
Yeah, no, they're actually really good. So I would, if anybody were to make a Bloodborne port, Nix's would be good for that, right?
Yeah. NC says it's 4 years late and full price. That will hurt sales. I haven't seen it hurt them sales before. It's just It's not 4 years late. It's day one for people who weren't into gaming, too. There is a ton of people that I know that never played the original because they just got PCs. Like, luckily, people still have sex. There's new people coming in. I just don't see it affecting it that much.
It's funny because...
frame rate. Right.
The frame rate issue with Bloodborne, people have hacked their PS4 Pros to play on 60 FPS.
And fix
it can be done.
The stutter. It can be done, yeah.
It can be done easily.
Yeah, I just think that'd be... I like surprise, man. We don't have enough of it, We don't have enough surprise. Surprises ruin.
Hi-Fi Rush was like the last
Hi-Fi Rush was a great... Microsoft's had 2 or 3, actually. They've been pretty good about... Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush wasn't the only one. There's been 1 or 2 shadow drops they've done that's like available now or whatever, and you're just, whoa.
Pentiment, maybe? No, Pentiment was like...
No, Pentiment wasn't. I think, I guess you couldn't call... Yeah, no. Maybe they've only had 2. Because I know it wasn't only Hi-Fi Rush. Somebody told me there was another one that they had done when I brought up Hi-Fi Rush.
I had a dream that because of the Fallout TV show, Obsidian was like announced Fallout New Vegas 2 and just released it. They just released it the same day. I've been itching for Fallout, man. I've just been itching.
That ain't happening. I feel like something. I feel like there's something there. It's just that ain't gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. No.
Nope. No, and I don't know why, and I don't want to get into it because some people think it's like personal, blah blah blah, and then you hear, they're working together on. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know where that is. Maybe it's also past the time of where it matters anymore to those people. Some people have left. Some people are there. The idea of revisiting that might not be
the director
as high on their ideas.
It's definitely. I mean, he's been tweeting pictures and shit of his Fallout New Vegas ideas, his notebooks where it says Fallout New Vegas 1, 2, and 3, but it's just 3 parts of the game.
If anybody could get him to make it, though, Abzi, imagine Microsoft. Well, Bethesda runs Bethesda. That's the other thing. And I say that, so I have to be honest. But imagine Bethesda, they've got their shit together. They're like, how much would it cost to just, let's put it all aside and let's do this. But
the mega Fallout game.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, like I said, man, that would be the best day if they brought out In Exile and Bethesda and Obsidian. They brought out some people.
The Godfathers.
Just like the Godfathers. But it couldn't be a remake. I want them to make a new game. A new thing. Yeah,
for sure. No, I don't want a remake. I want a new.
It can't be New Mexico because that's coming out in a demo or in a mod. It can't be London because that's in a mod. But there's many other places you could do. And build on the Fallout TV show's success,
For sure.
I agree, though, what Sailor's saying. I don't necessarily want a New Vegas 2. I actually agree with that. I want them to make their own thing, whatever it may be.
For sure. I agree.
And you finished the Fallout TV show? Don't worry, people. We're not going to spoil it. I'm just...
One last episode, but there was something in this 7th episode that made me go like, okay, I need to play something. I need to play so I've been debating between either doing the Tale of Two Wastelands, which is Fallout 3 plus New Vegas in one game, and there's a really cool Wubbajack for it that adds a lot of cool stuff to it, which also adds looting animations, so you actually see your hand. It looks really good. You see your hand like looting stuff. It's awesome. And then, I also want to do a vanilla ass Fallout 4 new patch, and I want to do Far Harbor. So those two are like battling for what I want to play. If it's Fallout 4, though, I can't play until the new patch comes out, which is, I think, April 28th. So
the patch that adds the 60 FPS and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Adds it for the console, for the PC. Just it fixes issues that mods have fixed for a while, but but it does fix those issues in the game. So
yeah, I might return to it. We'll have to see. I think that game's pretty old looking, though. And it feels pretty crusty. I was playing Fallout 4 maybe a year ago, and then I played some Fallout 76. They still have pretty crusty shooting, no matter what.
They are, but
they're not terrible.
There's nothing like them, though. Crusty. There's no setting like it.
Oh no, there's no setting like it. Yeah.
When you get the itch for it, there's nothing else you can play to sate it. Yeah.
Somebody else was saying there was something here that somebody popped and said it dropped. Oh, Steam World, or what is it called?
Steam World Dig?
Yeah, the Dig one was a surprise, I guess, that recently.
Oh, yeah, the second one,
popped. Yeah. God, that'd be awesome. Tress Brothers, again, I think Tresse Brothers, says, I saw someone pitching Fallout New Orleans in a Reddit thread a long time ago that stuck with me as a great potential setting. Great bayou vibes, go nuts with ghouls, oil rigs in the Gulf. Holy shit. Yeah. See... Dude, that right there, that's the thing, man. We all get stuck on the same 15 fucking locations, especially if it's in the West. It's like, and now it'll be Florida for the next couple years. But the idea of that and Point Lookout is sort of scary. The idea of going into ghoul-controlled locations, all that kind of stuff, that would be awesome.
Dude,
There's
you know
a
what I
lot of
want?
particular spots you could do.
I want so badly for it to just be a sandbox game where do you know Kenshi? Have you played Kenshi?
I do
Or
know
have you seen
Kenshi. I've
anything
not
about it?
played it.
Yeah.
I do know
I
a
want
lot
it like
about that
that,
one, yeah.
where you can either be a ghoul or a dude from the Brotherhood or
Yeah.
a vault dweller and just live in the world and just do stuff, do what you want to do. Maybe have some immersive sim elements in there, but but no, seriously, like no main defined story, just a sandbox, and you kind of live out a life and have goals and stuff. I would love that because the world is the main highlight for me, the setting in the world.
Yeah, it feels
So.
like it. I mean, I can say that about a lot of games that feels like no other, but Fallout certainly does feel a little bit more. I mean, you could say Wasteland now, Wasteland 3. They've got a overlapping a bit, but yeah, the idea that you would be able to jump in there, it's a cool IP, man. I want to see more be done of it. I would also like to see a Fallout Tactics. I don't mean the
Cool.
2D one, but like an XCOM. I would kill for a Fallout
100%.
XCOM game.
With VATS?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you could do crazy stuff with the different
like
enemy
Fallout
types.
1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah, except those. Yeah, but those were
except like an XCOM.
Yeah, except like an XCOM. But I get that comparison. That actually makes more sense. And then you want to talk about Manor Lords early coverage. Manor Lords is coming out early access on the
24th, 26th. Yeah, one of those. But I watched Lyric stream it for a while, and damn, it looks really good, man. It looks like the mechanics look very airtight. It looks fairly complete. It doesn't look as bare bones as I expected it to be, and it just seems like the everything strategy game, from city building to Age of Empires battles to 4X stuff, diplomacy. And man, like I'm very, very interested, even in early access, to be honest. I want to see how it fares. Yeah. Very interested in that game. It looks really, really good.
Yeah, I think coming out on Xbox Game Pass is a huge bonus for them too, because they're coming out.
Is it coming out on Game Pass?
It is. Yeah. It might be PC
awesome.
Game Pass. Sorry, but it's coming out on Game Pass. Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah. That is really good.
They showed that on one of the coming soon on Game Pass, and that surprised me because I don't remember hearing that was coming to Game Pass. So that one, and there's Harold Halibut came on Game Pass. So Game Pass helps a smaller dev like that, maybe get some cash so that he can do the things we're seeing. And there's a positivity there that, I mean, I know that people may dislike it, but what have you, at least for now, it's working out for some of these people. And I think that's awesome.
For sure.
I think that's cool for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of those games. So it just depends on how feature complete it is, I guess, because early access.
That's the thing I'm worried
about,
man.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It is the most wishlisted game on Steam, so it's gonna be scrutinized.
They've been sort of scrutinized, like you just said, for not putting that it's early access on Steam, which has caused a ton of like negativity because people are wish listing without knowing it's early access. In fact, we just had somebody post where they're like, it's early access. So
they just added that to the Steam page.
Did they to the Steam page? Yeah, I don't know if those wish lists will stop, but I do find that if you're going to do early access, you need to figure out a way to put that it's early access.
Should be clear, man.
It should be very clear because you can't say wish lists matter and then not be accurate in your
at least you can't
Steam.
pre-order it, but yeah.
But since we do know what I'm saying is, well, sure, at least you can't pre-order it. But if we're sitting here and hearing every dev say wish lists are the most important thing, aside from pre-ordering, then you damn well better be really accurate the moment you post your Steam
for sure
thing that allows it to be wish listed. Because in a weird way, that's sort of, it's like, how many of those might not have been wish listed if they had seen early access Intel? I'm not saying any. I'm just saying that it seems to me that that's a proper question any gamer should be able to ask.
It was nowhere, not even in the, how Steam has a huge early access thing. They didn't even mention it in like the description or anything in the game, which I thought they should have done. Yeah.
I did inform them that I was being asked a lot about that particular thing, and they gave me some information, which is that they hadn't put it on because they hadn't decided exactly how to explain it. But I get that, but the other stuff was explained, so it's like it feels you really do need to be you need to pop off on that pretty quickly. The moment you find out it's early access, you pretty much need to pop off. And then I think the Game Pass thing came later, so those people who might wish list it on Steam are actually going to get it on Game Pass. So there's some oddities there, but it happens.
Yeah.
And Hades 2 is early access now, right?
Okay, we got to talk about this, man. What is going on, dude?
Because I don't really know what's going on with that one, other than that it's early access or something.
Yeah, I watched the stream and the devs talked about it. So basically what's happening is that there's, I think, I don't know when they're calling it technical test, right?
Right.
I think it comes out now, like soon. And basically they're going to have it run. They don't know when, they don't know the duration. It can be anywhere from a week to a month, where they want to iron out issues before they release it on early access. So it's like another thing, because now early access became a little bit more glorified, I guess, where they want to make sure they don't have glaring issues in early access. So now there's an early access called the technical test.
Is it free?
That is a question I don't know about. I don't know if you have to purchase it or not to have access to the technical test, or if you just get invited. That's something I haven't not checked.
Well, for the longest time, we've been selling game passes, or what they call battle passes, that give you stuff later. It just makes sense that now they're figuring out ways to, give you stuff earlier. Yeah, but I don't really want to do it because I'll get burned out on the game. It's not a diss on any particular game, but the tech test is free.
That's good. But my thing isn't that. What I find weird, what I find interesting, I guess, is that early access has become kind of a standard now. Like, it has become a little bit uplifted. Like, you can't have glaring bugs where the game doesn't work sometimes and stuff, because people will negative review it to death, right? So early access now is like a pseudo earlier than release, but ironed out. I guess it has always been in a way, but now there's like a thing before it to get to that milestone. I just found it very murky. I guess how you call it, dirty and weird. Not dirty in a bad way, just kind of messy.
Dirty, messy. Yeah, and that's the thing is all gaming's so. It's almost like history books only go back to a certain point, and the rest is some guesswork. And future guessing of where we're going to go is pretty solid, and then it goes to guesswork. That's game releases now. You know the date it might come out full, and you know that a DLC will come here and here, but then there might be more stuff. And now the game release is here, but then there's early access, and then there's this other stuff, So
yeah. And then you got beta tests. Are they beta tests? And then there's a lot of
we had that with the Crew, right? Man. Wasn't it Ubisoft had stated they did a beta 2 weeks prior, and they said something like, this is it's a beta, but everybody was all how old, how much are you going to be adding to the game? Because I still remember people defending it, being like, I'm sure you'll be able to make a Crew. That would make no sense. And then nope, you can't. So
what do you think about early access reviews? Like, are they even reviews, or what would you even call those?
If a game like Manor Lords has as much as it does, and it, like, let's say it has an end game and all that kind of stuff, then that you could say on this date, which is just like you would in a normal game, because they could patch it the next day. You do your review on a day, say at this date, boom, and that's why a YouTube person who's watching needs to look and go, when was this posted? Boom. If it was 6 months ago, you better check other stuff, because something may have gone wrong too. Like, for example, if somebody checks out my review of Crew 1, guess what? Crew's not going to be even playable anymore. So no matter what I say about Crew 1 on date, you better check the date, because if you go try to buy Crew, you're not even able to. So as long as it's pretty full as a game, that's, you just call it early access review. I only do a couple, and they're very, they're hard to do, because some games aren't. Like Manor Lords seems to have its stuff. That one would probably be like 1, 2, 3. Here's the stuff. But when you start getting into games where entire trees are missing from technology, like in a 4X, what do you really? I mean, it's really just impressions of of what it may be in the future and what it is now. It's not solidified very very much.
Yeah, even 1.0 isn't at this point, right?
Yeah.
Where they
and it
just
depends on the
introduce
game.
patches.
It depends on the game, because if a game like that is somewhat fully fleshed out, I have no issue as long as you just call it an early access review. That's fine. I just don't think a lot of people even want to do them that I've talked to, because when I do talk to somebody about or I go on a podcast, I like the DLC podcast with Jeff Kanata and Chris. When I went on there, I think it was prior or after. It might even actually been the DLC prior to this one, because I've been on 2 or 3 times, and we were talking about it just internally before the podcast of like, how do you, how do you draw the line when it's early access or when it's something like that? And that's the same way with a WoW. It gets an expansion. Does that change? That change the old stuff? CD Projekt Red, my review of Cyberpunk is no longer technically very accurate because they've changed the entire skill system. You know what I mean? So it's like, it can happen with big games. It just happens in a longer period of time. Let's see. That's what Call of Duty used to do, betas. A couple weeks before release. No time to make changes, glorified demos. I would say just asking for a demo is good. Or I think demos becoming a thing are awesome. And the more it happens, the more it's... I
Do you
love
like
that.
the type of demos that drop you in the middle of the game, or just have the starting intro so you don't have to repeat it?
I like this. I don't want to repeat it, but I would still rather repeat it than get a character that's just kung fu fighting everybody, kicking ass, and then you start out with a whip. And that kills my soul, because I might really like their choice of skills in the middle game that maybe I can't get, or maybe that skill is harder to get and there's a boss you have to get it from, and you're like, oh, well, if I want to play this demo representation, I have to do these other things that, I'm not really wanting to do. But you are right, man. Repeating yourself sucks. When you go, you go and you play it, and you're all right. And it happened with Stellar Blade, where they're like, yeah, it'll roll forward. And then you have to rethink, do I really even want to roll forward? Do I want to, what do I want to do?
I like sometimes when they do demos that are just like not in the actual game.
Absolutely, it costs too much, but I love that. Yeah,
it costs too much. Yeah.
There were times, though, where you would get a demo that was like, this is not in the game, maybe a fighting arena or what have you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did that. Their demo was completely different than the game. They had you playing like a miniature as a mini. Yeah, it was very with a keyblade, and it had some like Kingdom Hearts elements to it. It was weird, from what I can remember.
Really? That seems that's pretty heady, man. Yeah, dude, the amount of money.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, I now remember that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That the amount of money that would be is just insane, though. Can you imagine a dev being like, okay, we're going to create an area that's not in the game with a character that's not in the game or not playable in the game, and enemies enemies would probably be in there.
Well, they charged for ground zeros for MGS, right? So they could always charge you for a demo for a full price game.
I think. Well, I think you could charge it. Let's say you, maybe you can't. I mean, that one. What was
not
the
as
hub
short
of
as Ground Zeroes? Ground Zeroes was very short.
Ground Zeroes was very short.
For the amount of
so
money,
I guess,
you paid like what, $40-$50 for it?
For a demo?
The Ground Zeroes was basically a demo. Let's be real.
Ground Zero was it was like a prelude, right? Was that the one that was like a prologue or
it was
prelude?
Like one mission. Yeah.
SBZ says Alone in the Dark's demo is also different. That's great, man. That must cost a lot of money, though. And I don't even... Maybe it's a level that they think they were going to flesh out for the main game and don't. And so they say, hey, let's do it.
It's scrapped, yeah.
I like the idea of it, though, man. I love the idea of jumping into a game, learning some stuff. Starting out is not so bad, but it just depends on the style of game, too. Like, if it's a turn-based game and you have to go through a huge fight, and then you have to go through it again, that's why saving the data is good. As long as the demo's not 6 months. Where you can't remember what the shit you're doing, and you go in, you're like, dude, I'm just gonna have to redo this.
Yep.
Let's see. Remember, if I remember right, and I could be wrong, so people can correct me. I believe Baldur's Gate had some demo conversations that did not appear in the final game. That in the early access were there some discussions and some narrative that did not appear in the final game?
I think I played a build where some stuff was different. I can't remember clearly.
In fact, I thought they said that they were doing that. That like there was stuff. Man, I could be wrong on that. I feel like it was Baldur's Gate that did that.
There was a section. I remember clearly that there was I thought I was going crazy, but then I confirmed it because I kept asking my friend about it, and he told me he didn't know. However, I remember clearly there was a section in the ship, the first ship you start out in, which was like a long, big outdoor section that was just not in not in the release.
Hey, that's the way to do it, man. Nothing. That's awesome.
Because it was also long-winded, and I didn't like that section that much. So it's good that they cut it. But
yeah, right. Testing out the worst section, so therefore the people who buy it will be really impressed when they get the new one. Ready or Not developer had 4 terabytes of data stolen, including full source for the game.
Oh yeah. So the ransom group, the famous one, I forgot their name.
Anonymous? No, it wouldn't be anonymous. Let me check. Go ahead. Continue the story.
Teenager. Yeah. I think that's them. They basically stole a bunch of data, a bunch of the source code of Ready or Not. But the Ready or Not devs did say that no one's personal information, staff nor players were compromised. They said that, but a lot of the source code was stolen. But I don't think they've been published yet.
Void Interactive is who this is.
And they found console builds so apparently Ready or Not is aiming for a console release.
Yeah, or looking at it maybe in the future. Lizard? Yeah. Sailor Mercury asked if it's Lizard who did this hack. Lizard?
I don't know what they're called, honestly.
I don't think it was in that. What do you call it? I don't think it was in that story either. I just parsed it quickly.
They didn't want to mention it. Yeah, in the article they said Game Informer or whatever the article.
Didn't want to shine any.
They don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to say their name. Yeah, but I'm guessing it's the ones that also did the hack on Sony, right? On the Insomniac ones. Those rounds are.
Oh man, that was an insane hack. And then next up, I don't know if you saw this, but Black Myth Wukong's is on the PlayStation Store.
Yep.
They uploaded Yep. We're getting closer, man. We're getting closer to seeing that game.
Unreal Engine 5 games coming.
Oh, right. Yeah. And then also Witcher 3 Red Kit got a Steam page. So it's out now, right? The Red Kit is out.
Let's see.
Is that correct?
Let's see. Let me verify.
And that's their version of Creator Club. Creation Kit. I'm sorry, Creator Club.
Yeah, there's already a lot of good mods for the game, but it's mostly like vanilla plus mods, like just mods to a bit better QOL, better visuals. But this is just people are going to make their own content now, which is always excited for. But it still says planned release date 2024.
Okay. For the
Red Kit. You can add it to your wish list, but you can't. Yeah.
I don't think Witcher 3 interests me too much playing mods in it because, well, I don't mean it that way. I want to see the mods because Witcher 3's mods would have to really like change the way you've battled or change where enemies are or added enemies for me to get. I feel I got a classic play of Witcher 3.
Yeah. Also, if you were to do quests, I mean, the characters are predefined. Geralt has a voice actor. I mean, but Geralt's voice actor, Dane Cook, or not Dane Cook. What's his name? Dan Cockle.
Dude,
Dan Cockle.
Amazing mess up. That was right. That was up there with me saying Keanu Reeves and Johnny Depp. That was amazing. Anyway,
Daniel Cockle, I think his name is. I feel like he would be down to voice some mods and stuff. He's a pretty laid back guy, always talking to the community and shit.
Dane Cook is now. That's all that's going to be in my head. Yeah, as Geralt, man, dude, that would be awesome. Yeah, with Witcher, the one nice thing is even today, it doesn't look necessarily super current, but it looks pretty current. It looks pretty good. So a lot of the modders, they'll be able to work with the assets that are already there without having to, you don't have to, if you don't want to create a bunch of new textures and stuff, they're pretty good in the game. The game looks good. And then also you have all those other characters from the DLC. So it's like, what could you do if you use that as your package? If you said, okay, if you want to do this mod, you have to have all these. Can you merge them in to make, because could you go into the DLC and then come back out in Heart of Stone and stuff? So they've already got that. So that means if you got it, you've got the whatever creatures are different in Heart of Stone. You could bring them into the original or what have you. Like all that kind of stuff is awesome. Or those characters, whatever characters. Better. Yeah, improve some combat and stuff like that. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Really cool. It's a game that feels so late for the mod kit, though. Man.
It does,
how old
right?
is that game?
I mean,
how old is that game?
They did come out with the remaster thing that was okay. I don't think it did that much of a difference.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. That the show wasn't that good. Fallout needs something, dude, other than that patch, dude. They need something, man. They just... Shadow Drop fucking...
you mean they need... Well, I mean, what What do they need? Like what?
A new Fallout game, dude. Just give me a new
right.
Fallout game.
Yeah. See, I think we all agree with that. Yeah.
No, but seriously, like I guess 76 has stuff going, but I mean, a lot of people are just itching for Fallout.
So
Have you seen
Fallout
the player
76 is,
Yeah.
I did, but even this is one thing I want to point out. It's obviously impacted it, but shitty shows have impacted games too. It's sort of, it's getting blown to that. Now we're at this monolithic, like, pretty soon Elon Musk is, well, his cars already look a little like something from Fallout, but you get that stupid where everything is the best thing we've ever seen kind of stuff. So I sort of pull back from it. It's good that it's doing well. I don't think that they can make too many changes just because the show's doing well, like, in their game development process. But they're not stupid. And Todd multiple times has talked about how he'd be 90 when some of these games come out that people want. So it seems like they're looking for it. I just don't know, man. I mean, it takes a lot of people to make an open world game now. I mean, dude, we're seeing teams 300, 400. Yeah, he does.
Know that. Yeah.
Fallout 76, I do just straight up have to say, like, it is improved 1,000 million fold. It really is genuinely.
I've been hearing a lot.
Yeah, I played it. I did it on cloud, which was actually, weirdly enough, one of the best experiences on Xbox Cloud I've had, because I'm not really high on their latency and some of the other stuff. But the PC GeForce Now version was good. It was really good.
You didn't like 76 even after the patch. Do you like it now, or are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like It feels like Fallout 5 during the combat sections. Its narrative isn't really there, and I liked the narrative in 4 and 5, and New Vegas and 3. Sorry, I said 5. I meant New Vegas 3 and 4. I like more of the story stuff that goes on in those than I do New Vegas. New Vegas, it's a little tacked on, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's enjoyable. I mean, and for people who like those games, it seems like it has made, amazing strides that I wouldn't even be able to comprehend unless I really jumped in. I'm not really an expert in that, where it is anymore. It was pretty rough when it first came out, though. It was pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's made huge improvements. Tammy says ESO 6 is going to probably take first priority. No, it for sure will. I think that's what we're trying to figure out is, how many people would it take to make a new one? And unfortunately, a ton, and more than Bethesda has. Quinn says, what's the end game for Fallout 76? Do people build settlements or something? Is it more about gear? Yeah, people build huge settlements. They've got a story in it now.
Yeah, world bosses. They have like a lot of events and stuff you go to and do a bunch of shit, farm currencies, whatever. They have very good endgame stuff from what I've heard.
And they have one of the best communities, right? I always hear stuff about the community being incredible.
Yeah, they're very helpful, apparently. Like you go in and they just want more players to join them.
Pickle Pounder posted the Boston Dynamics Atlas robot getting up. Did you see that thing? That thing's crazy.
Let me look at it.
Boston Dynamics is always messing around with robots, and this one basically is laying on the ground and then picks itself up by curling its own legs over itself.
And then they push them back down. I feel bad.
Yeah, dude, the trying to just train AI on hating humans.
Oh, that's demonic.
Yeah, where it curls back. You see that? Where it curls its own legs over itself and stands up.
That is uncomfortable.
Or it's the best thing ever. Depends on it. I think it's creepy looking. Yeah, I think it's Japanese horror looking. And then what else do we have for small stuff? Let's see. EA Iron Man game. What's that about? Oh, right. That was actually something that we've heard about.
Yeah, what would you... Because, man, we have, traversal in Spider-Man is really, really fun. It's like the best thing about it. What would an Iron Man game be fun? What would you do with it? I mean, I guess Anthem was fun, but like with Iron Man is just you shoot, throw rockets. There's not much acrobatic stuff to it.
Yeah.
Would it be fun just flying around and shooting shit? Like,
I don't know, because every flying game limits your gas on purpose. And even in the movies, you always have Broken Arrow, or what the fuck his name is, Jeremy Renner, going like, "Come down here and fight me," or having somebody launch him up to fight them because he can't fly, and Scarlett Johansson being useless. So when you have an Iron Man who's flying around, how do you, like? Yeah, how do you? I mean, Batman flew a lot. He glides a lot, but he flew a lot.
He glides,
but he just didn't have air enemies very often. Yeah. An Iron Man would probably have drones and shit he'd be fighting. I don't know how you do that. It's a little like Superman.
Would it be like a third-person shooter, do you think? Or would it be like an auto-lock combo dodgy thing?
Oh, I think it'd be about the upgrades. They'd figure out some way to make it so that one upgrade has lock on, one doesn't, but it does more power.
What if it's like Armored Core? Like very acrobatic with shoots
where
and
he goes to
rockets.
other places and blows them up because he can't fight in New York because he'd kill everybody. You could do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or you just blow up New York anyway.
Yeah, see, Marvel's, I mean, they're always showing people cleaning up. I mean, even the last movie, whatever one of the last movies was where they had, everybody attacking them because they had destroyed that one town. There's that moral dilemma of superheroes killing everybody. Unless you're Arrow, just doesn't give a shit.
They should make like high customizability in the
So here's the thing,
what I
man.
mean?
Robert Downey Jr. is he's not super high on tech, but he knows a lot about it. And he knows what's going on.
Okay.
He knows it would be stunning if they got him to do the voice. That would be amazing.
We haven't seen games that took the actors from the movies, right? They're always different.
Yeah, a lot of times. Because it costs so much, I'm assuming. I don't know, Robert Downey Jr.
Do you think he'd be
If you
down?
sold him on the story, you could probably get him to do it for a good price. If you somehow were like, listen, this is the future. Look at Uncharted, Look at The Last of Us. This is what you could do with Iron Man. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he would. Because I think his big thing is the physicality of it. He says he's old. He feels too old to sort of do that kind of stuff. Also, I think they all get tired of making the same games all the time. Or make the same movies all the time. He wants to do other stuff. But I would try to get him. I would, because I think that would be the best trailer in history. Imagine you hear like from Jarvis turning on, and it's like, good morning, sir. And you hear Robert Downey Jr. talking. You'd be like,
Then they do fog machines in the Game Awards and he steps out.
oh,
Welcome,
God.
Robert Downey Jr.
You're ludicrous, or whatever the fuck those people said to each other back and forth. You're delicious. No, I didn't say delicious. Fantastic.
No.
Fantastic.
You're breathtaking.
You're breathtaking.
You're breathtaking. Yeah.
Delicious would be weird. That'd be a little uncomfortable.
And then they'll cut him off for Kojima.
Oh, my God. It would be amazing. Robert Downey Jr. comes out, and he's like, I want to announce I am going to be Iron. And then Kojima's music starts, and he just walks out. And he's like, Robert,
The new espionage game.
The new espionage. Let's talk about PDQ or whatever. And, you're talking about his game, and you're like, Robert's just in the back going like, I'm an Oscar winner, man. Why does nobody care? Superheroes are walking atomic bombs. RDJ has a farm to chill out. Yeah, you could record from there, too. Eric Bana does a full audio. He's done, I think it's either 1 or 2 seasons of an audio drama that he does from his house.
Really?
Yeah, it's great. It's supernatural. It's about a girls' school and like possible witches and stuff. And it's Eric Bana from Troy. Like, it was a weird mix. I saw it randomly on Amazon. What's that called? Not Kindle, the other one. Amazon
Prime?
Where they have the audiobooks. Amazon, not audio. Amazon's like Google. They have 50 things like Google Drive, Google. But anyway, it was Amazon's service, and he's on it. He does his own show. Let's see. Once you watch The Boys, it's hard to look at superheroes in the same way. Really? Do you think that? Because I've watched. If you watch The Boys, the TV show The Boys, do you find looking at superheroes differently? I don't. I just find that a different type of a different show.
Yeah, that's just.
I don't really
it's like
have
Watch Dogs or something, right? Like it's dark, like Invincible as well, where the heroes aren't all that. Yeah, no,
for some reason, it doesn't really stop me from, or I don't really look at superheroes differently. I don't know why. Huh. Yeah. I guess it could be. Oh, Amazon Audible. Thank you, everybody. Audible. I knew we'd get there. SBZ says Hawkeye. What did I call him? Deadshot? Dumbass? Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow is a way better name.
Yeah.
What else do we have, man? My back is so bad right now. Damn. Son of a bitch. Damn. Dude, I went to sit down on my couch, and we have a divider in the couch, the recliner couch. I went to sit down like a jackass. I was skipping. I don't know why, but I was skipping with my dogs, and I went to sit down, and my fucking back caught on the recliner part, and it tweaked my back sideways because I was trying to sit in the chair, but I went a little too far. And man, the crack that it emitted from my back sounded like a 2x4 being broken. And I was all, yeah, that's going to be bad. And it was fine. And then the next morning I woke up and I'm like, okay, well, it's fucked.
I had for 3 days straight. I think on the first day I slept wrong on my back. and for 3 days straight, my upper right hand side, my upper right back was just killing
Stoved
me,
up.
and there was nothing.
Yeah.
It always feels like I could crack it, but not really, and it was painful.
I was also playing a lot of games on the Legion and looking down, so the back of my neck
yeah.
muscles were stretched, and I
Yeah.
woke up with the worst migraine. And after Friday's podcast, I was supposed to do some stuff, and I was just when we got done with the podcast, I turned everything off. I went to get something to eat, and I came back, and it just out of the blue was like thump, thump, thump. I was like, rub down as much as you can, which is weird because I've always had a bad back, so it's not really an age thing. I've had a bad back since 18, but it always sounds like it's getting old, but it's really just being stupid. I knew I was doing it. I was watching a show, Resident Alien, and I was playing Legion, and I was doing this. It was just like I was doing neck lifts for like 4 hours. I knew I was going to hurt myself. SBZ says Hawkeye should have called himself Broken Arrow in game. Does anybody have any questions for the chat or questions for the podcast? Trying to think. We didn't. This week was a little tepid. It was a little slow. We have a lot of games coming out next week.
Yeah, most of the things were about Fallout TV show. Not a lot of new news, more layoffs. Or I think Take-Two is laying off 5%.
Mm-hmm.
That's been about it. We got some new questions on Discord. I mean, one new question.
Oh, do we? You sure?
Yeah, the bug guy says thoughts on the word of a next generation Xbox in 2026.
Where is that, buddy? Podcast questions?
Podcast
there we go.
Questions.
The bug guy says, "What's up, bug guy?" He is a pest eliminator, and he's given me help at my house. It's been pretty sweet, man. He's got some stories too. Thoughts on the word of a next generation Xbox in 2026? That sounds like a good year.
Yeah, do you think next gen is gonna come out 2026? PS5 Pro is coming out in 2025.
If PS5 Pro is coming out in 2025, I think 2026 is probably, or the end of 2025 might be the best bet for a next gen. And next gen might look so different that we just don't know what it will look like and who it'll be. I mean, Microsoft in their leaked documents talked about ARM a lot and looking at possibly going away. And then at their new Windows event, I guess, they have an entire section lotted off to talk about Windows coming to ARM and or improvements on it or something. There was something big there that people were like, whoa, that's interesting that they're talking about that. Mm-hmm. And Microsoft has stated pretty clear they're looking at different kinds of things like handhelds and stuff. I don't know what it'll look like. I'm excited for it. I'm PS5 Pro a little less excited for it, but that's because when I got the PS4 Pro, I really did think, okay, it did improve FPS for some games, not all games, unfortunately, but it improved some stuff. It improved quality, that kind of thing. But I wasn't aware how little it sold until just recently when people were breaking down the numbers of how small the segment is for the Pro versions of these things. And that's why the Pro doesn't interest me as much. It interests me, but more in, hey, what are you planning on doing? The new gen do, and I am excited to see where they go with those, what we get, what form factor, battery in the controllers, cheaper controllers. That'll never happen. Man,
not
imagine
$60 controllers.
Or imagine an Elite for $79, not 100 and what are they? 59?
Oh yeah, those are way too expensive, man. Yeah,
they're unrealistically expensive.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the places where both Sony and Microsoft, people bitch about the other stuff, or they, they'll be like, oh, they're raising the price of Live by $1 or something like that, and I'm like, dude, if there's anything that's staring you in the face, it's the price of the controllers. I mean, what the shit? Especially when you have the third-party guys who are releasing better, more long-lasting controllers for half the price.
For cheaper.
Yeah, with back paddles and fucking interchangeable. Have you seen the ones that have the interchangeable sticks? You pull a stick out, you can put buttons on the front to do a fighter.
You can put weights in.
Dude, yeah. I don't know about, I saw that too, like put weights in. I think that's just because it makes you feel like it's more sturdy? Or is it
it's like heavier, which means it's a kind of better build quality.
And maybe button presses don't move it as much. I don't know. I don't know where the logic comes for that. But there's some crazy stuff there that's pretty cool. But my thoughts on it, 2026 seems pretty. Yeah, that seems fair. Mojo says, wondering if anyone takes into consideration of where a game developer is and from when it comes to a purchase. For instance, I personally won't buy a game from any communist country such as China or Russia, as the Chinese government takes 25% of any Chinese company's revenue. Therefore, if you buy from those regions, you technically would be giving money to communism. I do understand you can only do so much when it comes to electronics, where so much of our tech comes from China. Thank you. I was gonna go there, but that is true. Also, if they get 25%, if the company still gets 75%, then somebody's still getting paid. But yeah, I know a lot of people who are like that, man. I know a lot of people who look at every single thing a company's ever done and anything that's on social media, and they decide. It's very few people I know, but there are some people like that.
Yeah, or
I know
this guy worked in this company which had this owner who scammed this person.
Yeah. Or where just the company, Samsung suicide net story and stuff like that, where you're like, damn, Well, it wasn't Samsung. I should take that back. It was the one of the production companies over there.
I don't think I've ever boycotted anything because I can't be consistent with it. Because if I boycott something, I feel like I have to boycott everything.
You feel like I
can't
have to boycott everything?
Buy a phone or Amazon. Because then I'd be like, okay, well, this company's bad because of this practice, and then there's always worse, right? It's like, oh, my clothes were made by children, and my phone, and
I mean, technically, he probably posted from a device made in China.
Yeah, so I can't like begin to wrap my head around where I would even start. I couldn't. A lot of consumer stuff is just goes back a long way. It goes up the chain to something bad or someone that did something bad, or you know what I mean. So
I don't think Foxconn.
Do boycotts?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Do boycotts work?
I'm thinking about boycotts work. I mean, I know because of the Israel stuff, Starbucks went down like 30%, 40% in stock revenue.
What did Subway do in Israel?
I don't know. Some people speculate that they send money to Israel or some shit like that, but I haven't seen
gotcha. Interesting.
There's a lot of
think I've heard
stuff.
that.
There's like the Mundfish thing, right, with Atomic Heart, where
that's what I was sort of thinking. I was wondering if he was getting to Stalker and Mundfish and all that, those games from that particular area.
And then there's people down the line who work in those companies that have nothing to do with anything, and it's just there's so much to it. You're not hurting only one person versus someone else.
I mean, technically, also, if we wanted to go that far, you would never buy a Western game, ever.
Yeah,
ever. You wouldn't buy. I mean, if we itemized every, there's always somebody or something that's happened in a Western company too, everywhere. So I do get the idea of the overarching society, though. Simage says, regarding the Legion Go, I love the Switch detachable Joy-Cons because I can prop up on a treadmill and walk as you normally would without the controls disconnecting. Alternatively, I've had other controllers disconnect when line of sight breaks, this making this use case impossible. Did you test out moving your arms, breaking line of sight with the controllers to see if the treadmill bike would be possible? This is old, very old. That's a good question, but can I point something out? If the line of sight to the screen is gone, what are you playing that doesn't require you to look at the screen? So if I take my Legion controller off and walk out of the room, what am I playing if I'm out there?
Maybe like a sound game where you don't need
maybe a sound
a screen.
But then that also
maybe if you're like a god gamer,
Oh yeah, guys. If you're a Dark Souls player, who's watching somebody who's reviewing a game you've never played, and you're saying I've already beat the game with just the A button, maybe that's for you.
Like a challenge. I don't know.
I don't know what that means. I think he just maybe means test it for usability. I can certainly say that if it's 5 or 6 feet in front of you and you're playing it, it works. That is as much as I can say. It's a good question, but sorry, I didn't get to that. We moved those questions to a completely different part of the Discord, and I didn't hit on it. I apologize. It's a unique question. Cloud Cutter says, "What's your ideal proportions for your first Thanksgiving plate? Do you use cranberry sauce?"
Cranberry. I do use cranberry sauce, and portions. A shit ton of stuffing, and some turkey, and a bunch of cranberry sauce.
I will say this. I know there's heathens out there, disrespectable humans that are right on my moral list of not buying anything from or eating any of their food who do ham during Thanksgiving. And I don't know what kind of heathen does ham during Thanksgiving, but get out. There's been times where my dad will be all, okay, we're going to make a roast beef, which my dad's a good cook. He's sort of taken that on as he retired. Like, I'm going to do roast beef and ham. And I'm like, and turkey? Because, dude, that's just my thing.
You gotta have the turkey, man.
I don't eat turkey any other time of the year. So to me, having the one day where, I mean, I really don't eat turkey. I eat chicken
who eats
all the time.
Like,
I don't know. You know,
turkey normally, other
maybe
than
a
turkey
big
sandwiches,
drumstick, like if you're like The Rock, right? And you're clubbing
Yeah.
people over the head and then you're eating your drumstick like a
yeah,
caveman.
yeah.
Those things
Other
are
than
huge.
the deli meat. Like the deli meat
yeah,
is
not even the deli meat. Yeah. Like, dude, if you go to Subway and they say, well, turkey sandwich at Subway, maybe, but no, I still get chicken. I like.
Oh, you still get chicken.
I still get chicken. Yeah, chicken's got a different taste to it. Turkey's
or like a cold cut,
good,
or a club sandwich. Damn.
Yeah, that's too. Man,
damn.
I was trying to think. Speaking of Subway, we'll do a random advertisement apparently, but
sure.
When I go there, I always get like the meatball one, or
meatball
I get
marinara. Yep.
Yeah.
Steak and cheese.
It's steak and cheese is good. The meatball one's a little messy, and I'm very finicky about dirty food, like food getting, probably because of the beard and stuff. But I try to be careful, that you don't look like.
Yeah, meatball marinara also can get rowdy.
So I have to do the thing where I eat with my head down, so that everything that falls. But those are good. Yeah, those are definitely good. But turkey is for Thanksgiving, man. Turkey is like. I mean, yeah, and stuffing. I don't eat stuffing ever.
Really?
It's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving only.
Yeah,
yep,
but
yep.
I mean,
and a couple days around it, like after it.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I should say Thanksgiving is like a 7-day period of leftovers and pre-unders and leftovers. Yeah,
where
definitely.
bags of stuffing, you just cook that,
dude. And I want the shit stuffing, the stuff that's I know this sounds bad, but the kind that's in the box that's like, I don't want it shoved in the bird. I've had that, and I get why people like the savory, but it's a little too whatever for me. I want the cheap ass, dehydrated. You pour water and it goes like a video game. And you eat that, and oh, dude, it's so bad. It feels like top ramen with the amount of salt. I want the next day to show up and look like my jaw's square because I have so much water retention, right? Where you're just like, you're oh, dude, it's so good, so good. Cranberry sauce is ridiculous. I don't like that.
I like cranberry sauce.
You do, and you put it on food. You put it on the food, or you just like put it on the side and then.
I put it on the stuffing, or on the side usually. On the side, and then I
dip,
scoop it up with it.
Really?
So.
Like
with the spoonful would be stuffing and cranberry sauce at least, and maybe some turkey, all in one bite.
Yeah, I don't even think we have it. We do have this weird thing, which is like a whipped, almost like whipped cream or a cream, and then they put like raisins and or not raisins, sorry, cranberries and stuff in it. I don't know what it is. It's like a mini dessert. You don't take much because if you did, you'd be shitting yourself for a month. It's just this little, and I don't know if that's even. Maybe that's not even a real thing. My family just likes it. But that's the only real sweet stuff we have, is that the rest of the stuff is savory and salty and bad
do you
for
like, have you ever tried raisins with rice? Like raisins and savory, like rice and chicken, but with some raisins in there?
I don't eat it often, but I've absolutely had it. Yeah, absolutely had it. That. And then here, there's a type of, maybe it's a brown rice, but there's a rice that I've seen people have like raisins or cranberries in it, probably for that tart with the.
It's like honestly, rice here.
Dude, I'm generic. I want white rice with some butter and salt and pepper. That's like my favorite thing. Just like, straight up.
Sticky white rice.
You mean where it's gummy?
No.
What's sticky mean?
like sushi sticky, or like Chinese steamed rice or whatever.
Bro, I'm not even that fancy. If it looks like rice,
like some vinegar in it so that it sticks. It's really good.
I think I just make rice poorly because my rice sticks together a lot already without adding anything.
Well,
because I was just thinking when I eat rice, a lot of times you could almost make a ball with it like sushi. You could almost, I don't know. I'm sure I'm cooking it wrong. I just don't give a shit as long as it tastes somewhat like rice has butter
or you
and
leave
salt
it out
pepper.
for half a day and it becomes sticky.
Yeah, where you get that. Yeah, I definitely have had that. I definitely have had that. We don't do rice anymore ever. I haven't had rice unless it's Chinese food. I used to do rice and potatoes a lot. And then once you realize how much carbs that is, once I, really looked at it, I was like, dude, this is not working out for me. Because you can gain. People will be like, oh, if you just eat potatoes and rice, you won't gain weight. Fuck you. You won't.
I remember in my college days where like I was out of food and all I would eat is rice for a couple days before doing groceries. And that shit just like you eat so much of it and you might get full for like half an hour and then you're hungry again, dude.
When you hear those people saying they eat 6 or 7 meals as a movie star and they get tired of eating, I would just say eat a little rice because apparently rice just makes you hungry.
It's like
reading
McDonald's
some of the stuff
sandwich.
here. Ham is only better than spam. That about it. Hey, I sort of fried spam No, whatever. I sort of like fried spam. I don't know why we don't do these types of meals more often. Yeah, that would be cool if you had more. If I was closer to my parents, I'd do a more often, I think.
Yeah.
You don't need vinegar. You could also pressure cook it, much different than steamed, and the grain matters as well. Interesting. I would never pressure cook rice.
I've never
SBZ says, don't add too much water then, ACG. Water to what?
to the rice. Because you say it's sticky?
I like it that way. What's he fucking talking about? I want it that way. If it was all separated, that's still good.
It's like basmati, like basmati rice.
Yeah, it's exactly like basmati. I don't know what you're talking about. Is that a certain type of rice?
It's like a longer rice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Do other places have pink sauce with Chinese food? Pink sauce with Chinese food? Or is that an Oregon thing? I live in Oregon, and I don't know if that's a thing.
Pink sauce as in sweet and sour?
Sweet and sour, maybe? Sweet and
or
sour
pink sauce as in like Thousand Island?
Oh, God. Can you imagine that? A Thousand Island with
I can't.
Chinese
the thought
food?
of Thousand Island makes me gag because once when we were kids, me and my friend wanted butter popcorn, but we didn't know how to do that. So we basically just had a bunch of popcorn and mixed it in with Thousand Island. And I like clearly remember his hand mixing the popcorn with the Thousand Island, and it's so gooey and disgusting. And since then I couldn't. Thousand Island is on my no-no list. I don't have much food on my no-no list. I'm not a picky eater, but Thousand Island is on there. Yeah.
That sounds absolutely disgusting, man. I do know, though, that I've seen somebody making a food that was on a list of things I liked, and then you see it being made. And you're like, well,
yeah,
not anymore. We made sausages a bunch of time out of deer and all this stuff, and cow shit one time at my uncle's, and I remember just going like, man, I hope I can ignore, because occasionally a bone would get in there. This is obviously not perfect sausage making. This is a guy at his house. He's killed a deer, or they've slaughtered a cow. And like, I don't know if it was like a toenail or a bone or something, but it was just like,
that shit just, man. Or there's like a hair strand in there.
Dude, worst thing ever, man. Worst thing ever. Hair is the one thing that if I get it in food or anything, it's probably done for the night. Yeah. I still remember. It was Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think, when the girl is talking about how low rent a restaurant is, and she says, I broke a tooth on a tooth, and I fucking almost gagged when she said it. I was like, that is so revolting, man. Broke a tooth on another tooth.
Oh my God.
That's wrong, man. Let's see. ST Bourne says most Chinese restaurants use steamed rice and have jasmine rice as well. Yeah, jasmine rice ain't too bad. It's got a little smell to it that
I love the egg
makes
fried rice, man.
Oh yeah. Oof. And you can make that at home, man. Like you can make that so easy. That kind of stuff is great
all the time. Yeah.
Oregon Fresh, who's claiming all of his Chinese restaurants have it. I don't know what that means. Do you own them? No, he's saying all of
pink sauce in Chinese restaurants.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's probably something there. I don't go to a lot of them. I'm usually pretty laid back in what I get. Like for lunch today, I will have a slice of cheese and a steak that will be lightly salted, and that's it. What are you gonna have?
Yeah, well, Arabic food called mlokhia.
What is it?
It's a certain plant called Jew's mallow, and you cook it with rice and chicken. But I'm not having rice because I'm on keto again. But I'm also gonna have this eggplant dish, which is like beef. You don't like eggplants, man? It's so good.
Not a big fan. Yeah, the texture puts me off, but it's fine.
Texture is weird. That with beef and onion, and it's like a little beef burgers with eggplant and onion and tomato. So good. It's a food I created.
To swing this back to games, there was a mod I saw in Starfield where somebody threw a bunch of shit together, really good textures for the food in that game. And I actually thought they looked good already, like the little Crunchables, the little vacuum-packed snacks you get in Starfield. I actually really liked a lot of the food in Starfield. I found myself like looking around once I saw this mod. But I was surprised how many games are modding their food. There are people who that's their thing, is to go into a game, and if the game has food items that are laying around or what have you, that's the first thing they mod.
Man, I think for my mod list for Starfield towards the end I did that. But with Starfield, Fallout, Skyrim, and even Cyberpunk, I downloaded the individual fucking 4K, 8K textures of every single food item, the bread, the cheese. all they have the mesh and all that shit, man. It was awesome. Yeah, I like it. I don't know. There's something about these tiny objects, just seeing them high
That's where
res.
Yakuza nailed it, man. Beyond
Yeah,
belief.
yeah,
Going into a restaurant in
yeah.
Yakuza or one of the stores, convenience stores, was mind-blowing, the level of detail they had in that game.
Yeah,
That was,
yeah.
oh man, just walking in and being like, oh my God, every little restaurant item appears like a real thing. You know, it's just, it was
I
so
love
good.
that stuff, man.
Let me look at any further news that we have. There hasn't been a lot, man. Steam World Heist 2's official trailer. So did that come out today? Or is it just
Which
the
one?
trailer? Steam World Heist 2.
Let's see. Yeah, just a reveal trailer. 5 hours ago, Steam page. It's coming out on August 8th. It's from the creators of SteamWorld Dig 2 and SteamWorld Heist. Comes SteamWorld Heist 2. What are these SteamWorld games, dude? I've never played them.
I did SteamWorld. I've done 2. SteamWorld Heist and... Or are there
This
only
looks
2?
like
Have I done both?
Worms. Do you remember Worms?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is actually a little bit how they feel to me as well. They're good. I really like them. Yeah, they're good. I don't know what it is about the overarching fiction, though, of SteamWorld or anything.
Yeah.
I think that's just more along their graphics, but I don't remember enough about the story to know if maybe they were connected in some way, which they might have been.
Mm-hmm.
Dave the Diver got a launch trailer for PS5 and PS4,
Nice.
which I
Good
thought
game.
it was out. Was that an Xbox exclusive?
I don't know. It's out on PC. It's been out on PC for a while.
That's
I'm
what I
not
thought.
sure if it's out on console as well, but it's a really great game. And it plays really, I think it plays better with controller. The game plays better with controller. So is it really only let me see.
And then the other bit, while you look at that, is Nixies says that they're waiting on FSR 3.1 before adding AMD's frame generation to Horizon Forbidden West because it wants the latest and greatest before integrating it. That's awesome, man,
Integrating
that they're
into
doing
what?
it. They're going to wait until 3.1 before adding AMD's version of liquid frames or whatever. Not liquid frames, AMD's version of FSR that adds frame gen to Forbidden West before they do it because they want it to be
Very
the
cool.
best and greatest, they say.
You know, as a side note for Horizon, we were talking about this in earlier podcasts and how people handle sequels, like in FF7 Rebirth. You kind of had to relearn all the abilities you learned already.
Yeah.
Horizon did it really well, man. All the abilities I learned in the first Horizon were just ingrained in the game as just
A lot of
stuff
it was. Yeah. They did a good
like
job.
90% of it, man. Like you could do the assassins, you could repair the mount, you can do the slowdown, like everything was already there, which was really awesome. You never see that.
Yeah, so often you get those games where you're just like, why did everybody forget every move? You know, why is everybody
especially
absolutely
like in
sucked today?
FF7, yeah, where you had to learn the moves from all the different weapons, and then you just got the same ones again for the most part.
I think that's just a thing where they're hard for them to tell a story with having a escalating protagonist. You know, protagonist that like, can you imagine Lara Croft, how power she, you know, in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you know, 85 skills and shit like that. They just have to keep they have to keep paring it down, or you add more difficult enemies, you know, that kind of thing. Last up, let's go with that's actually it.
Wow, that's a short one today.
Yeah, it is. Gaming Guitar Alejandro says, what's the best comment you've ever received that actually got to you in a positive way? We'll say in life. What's the best comment in life you've ever got? It can be YouTube when you were streaming or doing your Twitch, or it can just be a friend saying something. What's the best? Do you remember something somebody said to you and you were like,
damn, guys don't get much compliments, man. Imagine we got as many compliments as women, we'd be flying high.
yeah, that is true.
Best comment, it's gonna be something cheesy, like I'm proud of you or something.
Well, I mean, it depends on who it's said from.
My dad, obviously. I mean, sexually, there are some.
That's what I was going to go with, but I'm not going to. But I was like, because I think that hits a person, girl or guy, or whatever. It hits them because it's intimate, so it hits at a higher level overall. But
yeah, it makes me feel good about myself, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same way as like if you help somebody out, they say, you really helped me out. If you made them happy or feel good, then that also makes you happy.
Think you have like small like parts to you, but then you're reminded
trying
that
to
it's
think.
bigger than average.
What's like a most positive? Anybody in chat have a positive comment? Like something. Robert says, Carrick, have you gone back to Starfield? Yes, I played it this morning. Played it last night. Played it the day before. I played it
I don't
the day
think you
before.
ever stopped. Like I've seen you stream it on Discord or play it on Discord while in voice chat a lot.
I've been really interested in modding it and seeing what
secretly
people
play
are doing.
games. You're just like playing random stuff.
You'll see. Yeah, and because I don't sleep much, it'll be 3 a.m. and somebody's like, dude, do you mean for this to be visible? Because they'll see it in my. They'll be like, are you reviewing something? I'm like, no,
dude, like we'd be talking podcasts or just in general in chat, and you'd be like, yeah, so I've been playing this and this and that, and I'm like, when, where, what? And you're reviewing all these. What are you? How? When?
I like
when
games,
are you
man.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, that will bring me to something. Swallowed that gum weird. So, I have been seeing a lot of YouTubers talking about burnout. And we've talked about it before many times in here. But one thing that did catch me by surprise is I saw somebody, Jacksepticeye, I guess recently, or the news hit recently, in my news. So it could be an older comment. But he said something like, well, I feel like I only have 2 years left. YouTube doesn't seem to want me. And I got to tell you something, man. And I think this is why I'm lucky. I've never thought YouTube wanted me. At all.
That
because
took a turn I didn't know I was going to take.
I have been hit so many times before anybody else. That's how I got to know a lot of people like Total Biscuit who helped me out and stuff like that. So that return from them, other than teasing it and consistently being like our last podcast was demonetized instantly. And I was like, in fact, our last podcast on Friday was really tame. And so I was mad. I was like, what the shit? So, got a hold of YouTube and they fixed it. But I was sort of sad to see that. I mean, I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, I don't give a shit if YouTube wants me. Like if somebody,
maybe they
even
just
if there's
never liked you because no sponsors.
No, I don't think it was that. I think it was. I have no clue what it was, but a lot of cussing, I'm sure. But it was sort of bummed me out to see, because I get where he's coming from for sure. But then I also was thinking to myself, I bet you I would think the way he does if I did what he does. Because here's the thing that's hugely different between like him and me. He's streaming a game for 6 hours while people are talking to him while he's in there. And it's 6 solid hours of unbreaking, like, back and forth. Right. Yeah. Where mine is, the podcasts are friends. And then the reviews are 15 minutes of 60 hours. And so I get where streamers in particular, the long-term streamers, what are they, like comedy streamers, where that's because he's definitely high energy.
Their personality.
Yeah, I could definitely see. And then that also puts you out there in a weird way, psychically, or psychologically, it could be psychic, but psychologically. And so I could definitely see him almost feeling like he is not wanted if they're not doing as well, or if he has to work hard, because in a weird way, it's him more than it's me. I mean, yeah, I'll joke and everything. There's my stuff out there. But man, I was watching some of his stuff, 5 hours or whatever. I'm like, ooh, that's... Even
psychologically to the viewers as well, because if you're streaming a lot of your life, like 6 hours a day, I feel like they'd be more attached to you on a level where you don't want it to happen. You know what I mean? Like kind of, what do you call it? When you're super attached to your life, that they're trying to dictate what you do.
Right.
They'd be disappointed if you don't show up one day. And there's a lot of pressure there.
And the thing is they all start hot and heavy, and those are the ones that I've been seeing drop off. And I've even seen people who are successful, you start to see less and less stuff coming from them.
Yeah.
And it's because, there is a comfort level there. There's a desire to not. I just like games. To get back to how much I play, if that goes away, you will see me play less games. There's been times for sure where we've been talking and I haven't really played much, because I was doing Chat GPT, but it's always tech. I like tech. I think it's always tech. It's always something to do. Even if it's Dungeons and Dragons, I'm messing around and trying to build a TV into, or Ableton. Music stuff is awesome. Even though I got to say, if I was a musician right now, I would be I'd be like, oh, damn, I got to get my stuff out ASAP, because, you may not be able to be found in a month as things become more prevalent. But we were talking about something prior to that.
Parasocial is the word. So
parasocial, yeah. So what's a positive comment back to that? I don't want to use YouTube because I love everybody listening, but
on the
What was that?
podcast that was probably the best comment I've received too. Like they included the other podcast hosts in it, where it's this guy that was I think he had cancer and he was
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
watching the podcast.
Yeah,
That
that's
was an-
that's awesome to hear for sure.
Mhm.
But I would say that yeah, that's pretty cool to hear. I'm not that was true. I know that person. Like that is for sure. But sometimes you don't know what's real coming out. You don't know what's real going in. So the YouTube one is always a little difficult because also the person who says they love you will hate you tomorrow if they don't. If they don't agree with something. I used to trust you, but you like a game I think that for some reason you shouldn't like. I hate you. Brandon Martin, $2 super chat, playing Division 2 again. Such a fantastic game. Yeah, that is a game. Last week we played about 4 hours of Division 1, and then everybody else jumped to Division 2, and it was crazy to hear him talking about it. It's like, dude, this game is still rocking, man.
It's awesome, man. And
It really
I
is.
got to endgame. The last time I played, I got to endgame, and I never have before. And there's so much stuff to do. There's roguelike dungeons. There's a huge 100 floor tower. There's a bunch of raids and dungeons, and it's really fun. And a lot of stuff to do in the world. And then you got the Dark Zone. That game is great. It's really cool.
I saw people last night. It was Void and Dev Guy were playing Returnal. They were returning to that co-op, and that looked like a fun game to do in co-op. It looks like it might be more manageable in co-op. I felt that
Very
their
fun.
gameplay wasn't like, I'm not saying they weren't experts, but it looked like it didn't do that thing where it's like twice as hard, at least from what I saw of them playing it, and now with all the add-ons, because they had the tower, there was something else they were doing that I don't think came.
Scale. If you're 2 people, it does scale as well.
But does it scale 2 times? Because it didn't seem like it was.
Oh, I don't know. No, probably not 2 times. No, but
I don't think it was
more
scaling
health
with
and
2
stuff.
times the amount of shots coming in, because that would be ridiculous.
Oh, that would be bullet hell extreme.
You'd just be able to walk across the laser beams at that point. They would actually. Yes, I know lasers don't have weight. Somebody's going to bitch about that. Let's see.
No,
what
that
else?
game is a roller coaster ride in co-op. It's fun because a lot of the boss fights are like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And oh my god, for the first time, I would consider playing co-op for the first. That's how I played. The first playthrough was fully co-op for me, and it was awesome.
Returnal's a good game, man. Returnal's like
so good,
one of the games I want to see a sequel of. One of the few games where I sit back and I'm like, you know what, man, I really want to play that.
It's like the only AAA roguelike
rogue hell third-person shooter that there is. Yeah.
Anti-Vampire Survivors opposite.
Yeah, they were in the underwater level. They were doing something, and they were jumping around. And I got to admit, man, I didn't realize the game had been that long ago because I couldn't even remember that level until I saw the bubbles come out. And I was like, oh, okay, I do remember being stunned by, some of the graphical effects. Because that's the other thing.
Flying guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That overall, I just think that would be cool to see a sequel to that because there's a lot of stuff you could do with the enemies. I don't know if the story would be a sequel because,
they
you
had
could do it.
Interesting lore as well. Like they had an
That's what I
interesting
mean.
world there.
Yeah, it was super. You would almost want to switch it up though if you did a sequel because it feels like that lore. I was sort of happy with what I got out of it. There was a little mystery left for sure.
Yeah.
But and there was a lot of stuff that I probably didn't read because there was some times where you could. I remember you go down that thing. You can either go down here or go to the right and go into the house. And the first time you go to the house, you can't go in. Then later you can go in. You see a little bit more cutscene each time. And I thought that was a cool way of playing it, or a cool way of displaying the story from the developer. They did a good job of storytelling in that game, especially for a bullet
the way
hell.
it was implemented, the house, right? Yeah.
Dude, the hardest boss for me in that game, I shit you not, I don't know why, it's on the second level, the desert guy who is high.
Goes, flies down.
I don't know what it was about him, man, but I was just like, what the shit? Yeah, I think I'm the only one who says that. I've heard other people say, third or fourth. Nobody brings up the end as being the hardest. There's different scattered ones. But I don't know if I agree
with you, I think the second one is probably...
It just ruined me, man.
The third wasn't...
No, the third wasn't.
Hard.
And the first was a little confusing, but I hadn't learned that if you... What is it in that game? If you don't grab the upgrades, then when you do get them, they'll be leveled up with you. The guns and stuff will be leveled up. Remember, isn't that how it goes? And I was grabbing every weapon. So I had low-level weapons. And once I realized that, it was just try to make it out alive and then grab a couple of those last weapons. And then when you face the boss, that'll all be leveled up. And was much
Yeah.
easier at that point.
My favorite boss from that is still the dude on the organs, the fourth boss.
Fourth.
He's not too hard. It's
What's
just
the
an
world?
amazing spectacle.
What's the fourth world?
It's the first one
Arboreal?
revamped, kind of. It was like after some time has passed from
It was the first one
region.
revamped.
Yeah, it was like it looked like the first region, but it was more brownish from what I remember. But I always had this path where you go into like a central point, you drop down, and then you have to then there's like two paths you can go to, and then the boss is like next to that central area. So you can skip everything and go to the boss, or you can go up and explore those two
You know
large
what's weird,
areas.
dude? Like, I look at this Division 2 post again,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a service game, right?
Yeah.
And I saw that news that they said 70% of developers are worried about the service game's future. Admittedly, that was a weird article because when you read it, actually only 30 are very worried. The rest are just like concerned about a future with it. It was sort of clickbait. But I hope I'm not going to say I hope some don't go away, but I'm wondering what a Division would look like that wasn't a service game, because I also like the updates Division does. So I guess what would it look like? You could play it offline, right? That means it's not service. So you could play it offline. You play single player Division 2. So if Division 2 wasn't service, you would just log in if you wanted to download the DLC, and only the multiplayer would require online.
They do it like Remnant, right? A little bit like Remnant.
Yeah, because Remnant allows offline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, true. And is Remnant 2 a different save game? Man, see, that's been a while, man.
Yeah, you can have multiple characters.
But what I'm saying is the single player save game separate from the multiplayer? I don't think, are they? Or are they the same?
No, it's depending on what character you use. So if you use this character and join your friend's game, you still have your character and all his inventory and all the.
And they do
upgrades
their
you have.
story, and you do their story
But
with
you can
them.
do it in their campaign, yeah. And the way the game works, it doesn't matter here because you could just keep rolling campaigns and do different
Dude,
ones.
best
Like
part. I'm telling you,
it's
procedural generation,
awesome.
when it's or not procedural, you can even call it something else. But the generation part of that, the seed part, is fantastic, man. And it's that kind of stuff is. That's what causes me. I like Remnant 2. I think it's one of the best shooters in years. Like truly, once you add everything together, the worlds and the seed stuff, I think it is one of the best. And that one does peer-to-peer, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So Division 2, if it was not going to be a service game, would also have to be peer-to-peer, so it didn't require a connection to a main server. That way, if the main servers went down, it didn't matter. I'm trying to think of what you have to remove. And then you remove so you'd go to a home or to a base, and you would see bots running around, I guess, because there's no real bots in that game that are like running around in the main. When you go into a base in Division 2, if you notice, it's always either the guys standing there selling stuff or some dude who can't speak your language in the game. Who's another player.
Yeah, there's no NPCs like walking around and stuff.
Right, there's no NPCs walking around in those spots. They are, or at least not many. In the main world, they're certainly walking around. So that would be all removed, and then the DLCs would just be purchasable, downloadable, and then you would have to have the identical DLC as somebody else. So Division 2 could do it. Division 2 could be not a service game.
I don't mind it being a service game. I just it's always better, in my opinion, to be able to play games offline if you don't want to play with others. I think to avoid server issues, and just not have to
telling
do
you
that.
straight up, man, they need, from now on, every developer, you make a game, and if you're going to require any online component, you have to build into your development the plan for releasing the server structure to gamers. Even if your server structure is 75 cloud servers doing one huge world, at the very minimum, you've got it, because who knows what would happen in the future. Maybe some quantum computing or something. Have it planned and be like, all right, like the crew, just not being purchasable and playable. It's like, put the server out there. I don't know what the servers require on that game, though, because it is a huge world. Yeah,
I'm assuming all the AI is server side.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like them, but there's a couple games where I feel like I'm not okay with it. I just like MMOs or MMO style
Yeah,
games.
you can't do MMOs offline.
Yeah, you can't do MMOs offline. Imagine an MMO where it was all AI bots. You can do that. Oh, dude, no, you couldn't. The amount of processing.
Your CPU would
Dude,
go
I
nuts.
don't know why I even said you could, because I was like, I just merged 2 yesterday. It took me a long time to figure out how to do all this shit from, what's the main website? Not Talking Head. It's called, they have all the AI packages on it. Hugging Face, I think is what it's called.
I don't know. Okay.
And they'll teach you how to merge AIs. You know, if you want this AI that's really good at this and this AI that's really good at this, and it's 238 gigs of data, and like you start running it and you're all, yeah, that's a lot of server power. It's going to take a while before our PCs are ready to like do those real time.
A separate PC running as a server.
Yeah. I mean, Freelancer had that. You could, I'm pointing over here, but you could have that, what was it called? Freelancer SP. You'd have it running on a different PC. And Arma allows that. Arma allows you to, like, I think I've told you, but, you know, people rent those servers out.
Well, Tarkov single player mod, you run a server on your PC before
and then
you
join it, right?
Yeah.
And you see,
like
that
your
is
own local server.
That is awesome too, because if there are 2 executables, there's a chance that maybe your game will crash, but that server's still running, or what, you know. Because Windows tries to make sure it doesn't crash everything, but that would be awesome. I love the idea. So that means you can then, so you are saying if I have a Tarkov single player, whatever, I can run it on this PC, and because it's doing what, AI and world state. So
AI loot and your world state. So like your hideout and like what you're.
So I'm assuming its GPU doesn't have to be amazing, because that was one of the things I like about some of the servers I have rented, where that you don't need an amazing GPU because it's not drawing anything. It's just running the server data package, and it's just doing those things, and then you get.
And then
graphics.
You can modify everything in a JSON. You know, like the spawn chances for stuff.
I mean, you might be good at that. I
don't fuck with it. I want it like.
Do you know what I do, dude? Just like Starfield. Yeah. Starfield has Bethany Pie, is what it's called. I don't know why, but it's their editor, and you open up and you can edit everything in Starfield, like how far away shadows draw, shit that's not in the game proper. I wish all those options were in the game, because there are some options there that I bet you people that I know who are playing Sky, because it also does Skyrim and Fallout, that would get better FPS and not care that their shadows were, you know, drawing closer or farther away.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are they? Doom Reaper repeated himself many times trying to explain that you can play offline with Remnant. Yeah, you can. But you can't with Division 2, unfortunately. You jump into any other service games lately?
What am I even excited for any service game coming out? Helldivers was the last one.
Tamay says, Life beckons, have a wonderful time. Thank you for the lovely videos, Carrick. You're welcome. And Absy, you're talking about podcasts. And Johnny. And Reg, and Silver, and Go Burns, and Alamine. Anyway, sorry. Just want to make sure everybody got a shout out.
I can't think of a new live service. Dude, 2023 and 24 have been mainly single player experiences.
For you mean? And I would agree.
Right?
And
like the big ones.
Yeah, well, there was Get the Fuck Out is server based, is it not?
Yeah.
GTFO. That was sort of popular. I saw it popping up a little bit with the one that got hacked. I saw that popping up. But for
Ready or Not, yeah.
Ready or Not, right? Some extractions. And of course, Siege. Those will continue forever.
Siege got a huge resurgence because of a streamer or whatever. But now it's
it was a single streamer was streaming.
Yeah.
What? Who was it?
Yeah, it's a streamer called Jinxie who popped off. Who right now, like he went crazy. Like he went from like 1,000 to like 100,000 viewers now average, and everyone's back on Siege because of that. I can't handle that game. That game, dude, you don't realize Ubisoft or whoever the hell the dev team that made that game, that is a game, that is an insane game, dude. Like all the different ins and outs of the maps with the different gadgets of the different guys of the it's fucking crazy. It's very overwhelming. And you need so much time learning the maps and stuff. That's why I really gravitated towards Extraction, because it was its own game, but it still retained that gunplay from Rainbow Six, which I think is a really good really good gunplay.
Yeah, they have some. I
The
mean,
game is very
whatever
scary.
other complaints I have about any of their games, not all of them, but a lot of their, even back in the day, they've had pretty good gunplay in a lot of their games. I was messing with a game called Perish that came out on the Xbox last night and PlayStation, I believe, but it was a PC release a year or two ago. And I was watching the people play. It's like a Doom / Power Slave kind of game. And its gunplay is okay. But it was weird to go from that, and then I jumped into a game I'm reviewing, and I was firing the gun, and I was like, oh, this is good versus mediocre. Like, it was instantly noticeable. Whether it be recoil, crawling a certain way, or what have, something there was like, oh, that's instantly noticeable. Like Tarkov is instantly noticeable better than something else that might pop up, and you can sort of tell. That game, Tarkov single player definitely looked up my alley, but jumping into something like that is I'm usually hacking it for 5 years trying to Dev guy says Finals and Lethal Company both as well. Yeah, well, not only Lethal Company but the other one that they just did. What's the other one? Not Lethal Company, but the horror one where you're a YouTuber.
Oh yeah, the not for broadcast. No, the
not for broadcast. Right.
No, not that
no,
one.
it's not that.
That's
Sorry,
FMV game. The no content. The out of content. Content cop. No, what the hell am I thinking?
Content question mark. Questionable content? No, questionable content.
Something content.
Content warning.
Content warning.
Dev guy says, thanks.
Thank you, buddy. That's a streamer game for sure. Through and through.
Yeah, that was made to take advantage of that, and they did a smart thing with the release, the free stuff, and then popped it. It was very smart. That's a company that knows what their offering is. There's no question to what they're offering in that game. It was like, this is what we're offering. You guys, if you want to enjoy it. It's going to be free, which is smart as hell, to take that loss up front. And 6.6 million copies were given out for free.
That's nuts.
But they've sold 700,000, which I think is higher than they would have.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the finals, I've been watching people replay the finals. Finals is one of the best, most enjoyed. Solar was playing it. There was somebody else. Dev guy was playing it. Some other people. It's one of the most enjoyable games to watch I've seen in a long time. A shooter to watch.
Shorts. I've been getting a lot of shorts of it, and they always look insane. What they do in those games.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, definitely enjoyable title for free too. The finals is like ridiculous when you consider that's just a free game. I mean, yes, you can do micros in it, but it's a free game. Like you got to, at some point they got to make some money. I have no issue with the micros either. They had a fat Elvis costume that looked awesome, alien head, bunch of other stuff that looked great. Well, that'll be it for us. We're gonna wrap this one up. If you guys get a chance, check out the Patreon, join it. It helps channel. We don't do any ads. Well, ads will play, but we don't do any. We don't do any sponsorships, so if you join the channel, you'll be able to join the Discord. Other than that, anything going on, Abzy, on your end before we wrap it up? Any special?
On Friday, I'm gonna, build a Lego that I haven't done since I was like a kid. So I'm pretty excited,
awesome,
man. I haven't done anything tactile in so long. I haven't done a puzzle or a jigsaw or whatever the hell. Everything's been digital for so long, so
it feels good, man, to do a Lego. Like I said, watch a show, do a Lego, just sit back. And then lighting kits are awesome if you want to keep it, and if you don't, chop that fucking thing up and donate it, and write it off on taxes. That's what I do. We donate all of ours. Like cool. I keep a couple because the lighting. Hey, by the way, also Tall Neck from Horizon. Very cheap.
Oh, that's okay.
Very cheap. Yeah. And it's awesome. I put it together. That thing is legit. Looks like a tall neck. How about the
Millennium Falcon? Is that still like $2 million or?
That's expensive. You can get the knockoff ones, which are pretty good, but they're even still cheap. That thing, they're just huge, man.
I'm not like a huge Star Wars guy, but Horizon, I would definitely. A tall neck, hell yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, the tall neck is primo. It looks good. It's pretty sturdy, and then the lighting kit's like $19, and you can choose if you want to do like around the rim of the tall neck or lights going down, and it's pretty sweet. All right, that'll be it for us. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say the yellow climbable thing for Aloy to climb it. so you could tell
it has those. Climbable. It has the yellow little like hand grips on the neck and everything. They did a good. By the way, the lights. That's where you put some of the lights, so it's like a lit up neck on it. You know what, man? I think the tall neck's the only one that exists. That would be amazing to have
The
You know,
color dinosaurs.
oh, dude, yeah. I would put those together for sure. They don't
Crystal
have her
bags
because
and-
Legos always look goofy. You know, people,
Yeah,
Lego
you
people
know,
are always
the
like,
human.
"Gah."
Yeah,
They always
yeah,
look
yeah.
like your cousin that shouldn't show up to family reunions.
You gotta show her cheek hair, whatever the hell you call that.
Oh, what is that? Peach fuzz. Peach fuzz. I don't think
Peach
I ever had
fuzz.
peach fuzz. I think I just went
Me neither.
nothing beard. Nothing beard. Anyway, that'll be it for
Yeah.
us. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your